Hey everyone, welcome to GameFace, episode 303 on Sifted Games at sifted.net. I'm Shane Satterfield. Someone where 303 actually means something to me. Matt, do you know what a 303 is?
I don't think so.
It is
It's an area code.
It is a drum machine / keyboard, for lack of a more simple way to describe it, that is common in acid house music. And probably one of the most well-known pieces of electronic gear for people who are into electronic music. You guys may have noticed, they probably didn't, but you may have noticed that the music that we were playing before today's show, it was all 303 music. And I'm guessing probably nobody got that.
No, I only know 808.
808's another one. Yeah. Yep. The 808 is a drum machine that is still legendary, still used in electronic music to this day. My favorite drum machine. The 303 is more known for what's called the acid sound, which is this kind of squealy, squelchy sound that you can... Anyway, you guys don't care about this stuff. But anyway, I thought I would mention it.
At least my tangents are about X-Men.
That's true. Although this is also some pretty nerdy stuff, by the way. Anyway, welcome to GameFace, episode 303. We have a big show for you guys today. Sony had basically its E3 2022 press event since we were gone. There are a couple big games we're going to talk about. We're going to get you lined up for what's happening over the next week with us as far as covering the Xbox and Bethesda press event on Sunday. There's lots of big stuff happening right now, and that's going to happen here in the very near future. Exciting times. Even though there's no real E3, I'm still pumped. Like, there's still big stuff happening, which is good.
I think my job now is to manage your expectations, because I do not think that Xbox thing is going to... I mean, look, it's worth tuning in because you're probably going to get to see him cry. But
that's always worth tuning in for.
Like, this is going to be Dark Souls versus Shane, except Shane versus Xbox Bethesda's refusal to show anything still.
Why do you think it's going to be so bad?
I just don't think they have anything.
Really?
I mean, not
that
even
they're not like canned trailers of stuff. Like
maybe, but I just don't think they have. I think we'll see Hellblade and probably Forza and that Gears collection, and they will desperately try to make you think Halo Infinite's going to get fixed. And
you don't think they'll show Redfall or Starfield?
No, they will not show Redfall. They will not show Redfall. I think they might show some of Starfield.
Not even like a new trailer for Redfall?
Maybe. I don't know what you show that's not
gameplay. Apparently there's been betas going on for it already.
Maybe. But then again, beta footage. I don't know. Yeah. It could happen, but I don't know. I feel like they're not going to want you to think about the games that got pushed
more delayed.
Yeah.
They want you to think about the things that are going to piss you off.
I mean, you might want to, if they have some good idea, if they want to show Starfield and be like, here's what you'll be doing. Yeah. And I think people will be hyped about, whatever Starfield's game mechanics are, sure. But at the same time, you could just as well sort of kind of knock that under the rug for now and talk about it on 11/11. And
they could just announce what you were talking about last week, which is, hey, we're actually going to blow out the game on 11/11 instead of release it like we said.
They never said that was the release date.
Is that true?
I don't think that. I mean, the trailer doesn't. It just has a date. So you could plausible deniability your way into like, oh no, that was just our big showcase date. Yeah. Do you buy that?
I mean, they did say this year, so
yeah.
But so they could, but it was going to be December. Who knows? They may pull something like that.
I mean, everybody's going to know what it is. I mean, you'd have to treat that as tongue in cheek. You'd have to make it a joke.
Have fun with it,
and you'd have to kind of gauge whether people are ready to make that joke or not.
Yeah. I think people are probably over it.
I would hope most people are just like, yeah, it happens. It sucks
all the time.
Yeah.
It definitely
this year
happens.
You better be used to it.
It's really happened this year with all the freaking delays. Anyway.
I'm sitting here just I'm really excited for KOTOR tomorrow. Yeah, it's okay.
Some people have been asking me if we're going to do Keeley's thing, Summer Game Fest, because he is having kind of like an E3 press event thing on Thursday. Yeah. But the more information that comes out about that, the less exciting it seems. I think yesterday he said, don't expect big reveals or anything like that. Yeah. So I would expect a lot of stuff like Saints Row, like a new trailer for Saints Row, like new trailers for things that we've already seen a good bit of. It really does seem like Sony corralled a lot of stuff for its state of play, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And probably Microsoft is grabbing the leftovers for its thing on Sunday. So it looks like Jeff may be left kind of out in the cold for E3 or Summer Game Fest, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Some housekeeping from us. So we'll be here on Sunday, and that starts at 10. Is that correct? I think the press event kicks off at 10.
10 or 11?
I think it's 10.
Okay.
It's early. Like, they always do it.
They always do early. You're always standing outside that stupid theater.
Wondering, like, why are we doing this so early?
Why is it 8 a.m.? Yeah, no. Why am I up at 8 for Gears of War again?
Yeah, why wouldn't you want to do it at, like, prime time? Like, why wouldn't you do it at, like, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m.
I think
Eastern?
the idea on that, like, there was all these competing philosophies of when the best time to do your press conference. Like Microsoft believed doing it early in the morning. You got in the top of the news cycle kind of thing. And then Nintendo liked to go after because, like, I think Reggie just liked to sleep. And and then Sony's always done it prime time.
It made sense years ago.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't. Like,
for a long time, it was also for a long time it was also like you had to space them out so people could go from one to the other. You know, like you had you had that big day where, like, Microsoft at like 9 in the morning, then you shuttled over to Ubisoft, and then you shuttled over to like Capcom or whoever was after that. It was usually an EA, or EA usually had a thing in the early afternoon, and then you went over to Sony, and Sony fed you.
Yeah. And
then you did the Sony one, and then like it was like a 12-hour day.
Yeah. But a great 12-hour day.
It was fun, yeah. And like you got to see everybody.
That was my favorite day of the year, probably.
It was usually the first day of E3 where everybody was finally in town, and people he hadn't seen at the bars the night before were like everybody. So that was always a good time.
Even I'll admit,
I don't remember any of those EA press conferences, but I remember like socializing between them.
Yeah.
So.
Even better than Christmas for me. Those days used to be. I was more excited about those days than I would be to wake up on Christmas. But that's not happening. Maybe next year. ESA just announced again.
Well, the difference
today.
there is that when you're an adult, you know what you're getting for Christmas.
That's true.
You don't know what Sony's going to show you.
Yep. The ESA did announce again today that it is doing both E3 as an in-person event and a digital event next year. I don't know what the timing of today was, I guess.
Yeah, they said that last year.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I mean, all I can say is if they're going to relaunch that thing as an in-person event, they better have something.
Yeah.
They better be ready to do something special.
It better be something special, for sure. Or it could just be that people have just not had it for so long that maybe people are excited for it. I don't know.
Everyone I've talked to, like, that has been to a bunch of it, it's like nobody misses it. Nobody misses it.
I do.
Like, you do. But, like, you're about it. Like,
yeah, I might be it. Yeah.
Everyone's just like, we can do everything through Zoom and email and phone. Like nobody needs to fly or drive to these things and do all. Like,
now, look, I don't miss it enough that I would, like, want to put people at risk. Like, if we come around to next year and COVID's still really bad, then I'm not going to advocate to have the event. But if things have calmed down by then, I'm 100% behind.
I mean, I'm in favor of Packers Party. If E3 has to happen for that to happen, then okay.
Yeah.
But I absolutely do not care about walking onto that show floor ever again in the rest of my life.
Wow.
Ever.
Okay.
I miss the people. I do not miss the event.
Okay. To circle back around to what I was saying a minute ago, we are not doing Jeff's Summer Game Fest thing live on Thursday. We will be back here on Sunday morning. The Microsoft and Bethesda showcase kicks off at 10 a.m. Pacific. That's 1 p.m. Eastern for you guys. But we'll actually start our live stream around 9:30 a.m. Pacific or 12:30, just after noon on the East Coast. We'll be previewing what we think will be shown. We'll be doing some predictions for stuff that we think is going to be shown. Stuff like that, and having some fun. And then we'll do live commentary over the actual showcase, and then Matt and I will do our analysis after the show for 30 or 45 minutes. If you guys have been with us for any previous E3 events and how we do it, then you know what's going to happen. It's good stuff. It's fun. I'm excited for it. I hope you guys are too. And obviously, for Jeff's thing, we will be curating all the content from Jeff's big event on Thursday, the minute that it goes down. So if you're just looking for archives of all that stuff, if you can't attend or watch the event live, just head to sifted.net, and everything will be there curated nice and tidy for you. And you'll be able to sift it by however you want to make sure you're only getting the genres and stuff like that you really care about. What else do we got? Let's see. Tomorrow morning, I am shooting Pactor Factor. So consider this your last call to get your questions in for Pactor Factor. When I get back from recording this, and once I get the show rendering, I'll start putting the questions together for the shoot tomorrow. So you have about 4 or 5 hours to get those questions in. If you go to sifted.net, there's an article you can see right at the top of the website that you can reply to. Or you can go to our Twitter feed at Sifted Games. There's a tweet there you can reply to. Or you can go to our YouTube channel and just click the community tab. There's a place where you can ask questions there as well. The last time I checked, we did not have enough for this round. And we're shooting tomorrow morning. So get those questions in, people, to make sure we have enough questions to do a good round of Pactor Factor. E3's right around the corner. You guys should have plenty of questions around that stuff. There's a bunch of other things that have happened since we last shot as well. So make sure you get those questions in before it's too late. And I believe that's it for all the housekeeping. Let's head to our chat and see what's going on with our crew online. Let's see. Let's thank all the people who subscribed with Twitch Prime, first of all, because you guys are awesome, and it makes a huge, huge difference for us. There's a bunch of you, too, which is great. We need it. Jacob Dragon, thank you for Twitch Prime. Karma Lounge, thank you. Ptor91, thank you. Tiny2K, thank you. Talimper, again, love that username, thank you. Toast9, thank you. How you doing? EDH420, thank you for Twitch Prime. One Super Master Gamer, thank you. This is awesome. Okay, I think that might be... Oh, no. Casuality, thank you for Twitch Prime. Metal Gear Jimmy, thank you for Twitch Prime. So many today. This is great. Cinetike, I put in my pack question earlier today. Great. J. Reed Vic, thank you for Twitch Prime. Aussie Brit, 2000, thank you for Twitch Prime. You think he's an Ozzy Osbourne fan, Matt?
Maybe. I wonder where he's from.
Maybe he's from Australia.
Could be.
And that's why he uses
probably.
Aussie. It's one of the
or
other...
Ireland. He's probably from Ireland.
Oh, okay. One of the three is my guess. J. Reed Vic, thank you for gifting subs to our community. That is awesome. Oh my God, look who it is. It's Wiffle Ball. Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Sam! What's up, brother? Our old TriCaster TD. We just talked about him. How we tried to find footage of him for GameFace 300. And we couldn't find it because he was only ever on camera like twice.
He's elusive.
But here he is in our chat. What's up, Sam? We miss you, brother. Hope you're doing well. I was actually telling people on the show that you are doing very well, that since you moved back out to Boston, your career has been going great. So congratulations. It's good to hear. And good to see you in our chat, man. I hope you are doing even better than the last time I spoke with you. And that was pretty dang good. So awesome. There he is, Wiffle Balla. What's going on, man? Good to see you in the chat. Wish you could come out to LA and visit with us again, because I know one thing, my ass is not going to Boston. Okay, so I think we're just about ready to kick things off. But before we do, here's a word from our sponsor. A once-in-a-lifetime property is now available in northwest Montana, featuring 92 acres of gorgeous wilderness, approximately 1 mile along the Blue Ribbon, trout-rated Kootenai River, and an eye-popping view of the Cabernet Mountain Wilderness area. This is truly an outdoorsman's paradise. You can use the restored and remodeled barn with living quarters as a year-round home, vacation cabin, fishing retreat, horse ranch, or cattle ranch. Contact Doug DeShazer today for additional pictures, information, and an opportunity to view this very special piece of Montana. And with interest rates starting to rise, now is the time to pull the trigger on a home or property. Even if you're not able to relocate to Montana, worry not, sifters. Doug DeShazer has facilitated home and land sales in California, Texas, Oregon, Washington, and many other states. He can find you the perfect real estate agent for the job, no matter where you live in the U.S. Feel free to contact Doug with any questions regarding real estate at deshazermt@gmail.com or give him a call at 406-291-1643. That's 406-291-1643. Big thanks to DeShazer Ryan Realty for sponsoring GameFace. We appreciate it very much. Aussie Britt says he or she is from Birmingham, England. So from none of the places that we said.
Well, I was kidding, because an Irish person's not going to put Brit in their handle.
Yeah. So. And then Sam says he misses us. We miss you too, Sam. We definitely miss you, especially with E3 coming around. Those were always like the good times, I thought. We'd always go get lunch together and stuff after.
Yeah, Sam would know how that sound thing worked.
That's true. Yeah, we're having problems with our sound, Sam. Maybe text me when the show is over, because we have a big stream on Sunday. But anyway, all right, it's time to get on with the show proper. We're going to kick things off with, undoubtedly, the biggest happening of the past week, Sony's State of Play. I would argue, Matt, it probably was what Sony would have shown if it did have an E3 press conference.
Probably.
Minus God of War. I feel like they probably would have slid that in there somehow if they could have.
Yeah.
Still, pretty awesome State of Play. One of the better ones that I can remember, like, ever.
Yeah, you got your Stray release date.
Yep, finally. Yeah, you were trying to put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, much sooner than I thought.
Yeah, come what, July something. Yeah, we'll get to that. But anyway, huge State of Play. We're going to go game by game because there were some big boys in this presentation. We want to talk about them all. We're going to kick things off with something that was rumored for a really long time, and it did come to fruition. And Matt, I will just say this. It seems like all rumors are true now. I can't remember the last time that there was a leak or a rumor where it ended up being false.
I mean, I can, but they were stuff that no one took seriously.
Yeah, like most of the big leaks these days end up being right.
Yeah, because I think people have gotten better at filtering out like what is just wishful thinking or what is like a troll and what, everyone, like a lot of the leaks have like weird. They have stuff like, oh my god, people really want that thing, but then there's little things that are like that's too weird for someone to make up, and then like a lot of times the really weird little things pop up first, and you're like, well, why? How would they make that up? How would they have known? I guess you could hide big exciting things among smaller weird things, but that doesn't seem to really happen. Like I don't think we've seen a leak that was like a mix of true and false. It's usually one or the other.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the ones that are like fake like just tend to fizzle out. Also because everybody who knows anything about anything, it does usually have a pretty direct line to be able to say like whatever. And I think the people that are reporting on these leaks probably reach out to their people and are like, is this real? And they'll say off the record like, nah, it's not a thing, or that is a thing. Yeah. I think these things are vetted before we hear about them most of the time.
Okay. Well, one of the biggest rumors that's been flying around for the last year or so, it seems like, is that Resident Evil 4 is being remade. And as it turns out, it is. Resident Evil 4 Remake is coming to next gen and PC, and not that long from now, Matt. It's coming on March 24th.
Yeah, they like that Q1 for
2023. They always release their remakes in that same kind of time frame. It's like a 6-week window, it seems like.
Well, it works for them.
Yeah. How do you feel about this, Matt, now that it's real and we've seen... I would argue the debut trailer is a little disappointing. It doesn't show that much.
You don't really see anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm into it. I'll try. That's my favorite one, so I'll try.
Yep.
Their remakes have been really good. I don't think they elevate. It's not like Resident Evil 3 remake didn't make me like Resident Evil 3 any more than I already did, really. But like I thought, it's a very good update of things, and I'm curious how they're going to approach 4.
Yeah.
It does look a little darker. Than the original. Like it looks like maybe they're leaning more into horror.
Agreed. Yeah, I think so as well. Obviously, the graphics look way better, even in the limited stuff that they've shown, where we have an analog to compare it to in the original game.
Yeah.
It does sound like they're changing the game rather significantly, though, Matt. Here is the...
Yes, it feels like they're bringing it in line with the other remakes a little bit. Not like gameplay-wise necessarily, but in terms of tone.
Yeah, for sure. Here's the official statement from Capcom. We aim to make the game feel familiar to fans of the series, while also providing a fresh feeling to it. This is being done by reimagining the storyline of the game while keeping the essence of its direction, modernizing the graphics, and updating the controls to a modern standard, different from the original, and will be set in a semi-open world. Capcom also stated that the game's merchant, or actually a leaker has stated that the game's merchant and the chainsaw-wielding Ganado will have an expanded role. Resident Evil Village players will recall the Duke referencing the merchant from RE4, and they're saying that the merchant from RE4 could take on a bigger role, kind of like Lady Damask or Mr. X, in that he may kind of follow you around and taunt you and harass you throughout the entire game. How would you feel about that? Because that would really change Resident Evil 4.
I mean, I like the merchant, and I
played. I do too. You played him on X-Play,
yeah. And he's always been kind of a figure of weird and mystery, and like I think digging into it might be interesting. They can mess around as much as they want with this, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, if I really don't like what they do here, I can just go play the old one, which is still on just about every modern platform. So
and still extremely playable. I would add, it's not one of these games where you play it and you're like, this really needs to be like torn down and remade. It's still enjoyable to play to this day.
This feels like it's like, well, we modernized 2 of the old ones. Why don't we do a greatest hit here? Why don't we just see what we can do with one of the things that doesn't need it, but there's room for improvement.
How do you feel about being stalked through the whole game? That's kind of what I was getting at. That would, to me, really change what Resident Evil 4 is.
I mean, I certainly don't think you're running for your life from the merchant. Maybe they're going to do that with the chainsaw guy.
Right, the Ganado or whatever.
I don't know. I usually find that more annoying than anything else. I mean,
I think it would just change the spirit of Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4 had a little more of an exploration vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Although if you want to change it up, and if it leads to more X gonna get you style memes, maybe I do want it to happen, because that was fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can kind of understand that, like, both the previous 2 remakes have had that as sort of a core mechanic. 3 because that's what 3 always was. 2 because they decided that should be more of a thing. So I guess I can see, like, maybe they think that that's one of their design pillars here, but it probably doesn't need it. But I'll give them the leeway to see how it turns out.
I would prefer if they do not, in fact, add someone who's stalking you through the game. I hope that does not end up being the case. And my other fear, Matt, is that they may chop...
Might just pop up more often, like
that. I'd be okay with that, as long as it's just not this constant thing where he's always chasing you, so you're always in a hurry or in a rush to do everything in the game. That gets annoying to me. RE3, I was okay with it because I had played it that way before. I knew what to expect. Like,
it was designed around. It doesn't do much for me. I don't think it's scary. I do think it's just mostly annoying, but it's like, I wouldn't mind if, like, you have the merchant be more of a character, you have this chainsaw guy be like more of a repeating boss, like pops up and kind of gives you some, like, a through line in there a little more, because the original game is sort of like a thing happens and this thing happens and this thing happens, until you get kind of really past the first major fight with the little Napoleon guy.
Salazar.
You're sort of in this weird thing. It's like, what's going on? So a little more continuity there might give it, like, some connective tissue. That could be good. But I don't really want someone stalking me through the map. I just find that annoying. Like, Lady Dimitrescu was cool because it was sort of in character for her, and it was sort of the thing of that section. Yeah. But, like, I was glad when I was like, okay, I can put a stop to this.
I was glad when I killed her.
Move on to something else. Yeah.
It was a sense of relief in many ways. How do you think they'll change it? Like, moving and shooting, that's a given. They're going to change it so you can move and shoot, I'm guessing.
Maybe. I mean, a little bit. At least as much as you could in 2, I guess. Yeah. You can walk. You can walk as fast. I mean, could you not move it all in 4? No. Yeah, you're just, because they did let you kind of sort of crawl a little bit in 5 and 6, as I recall.
You can move while shooting.
Move a little bit.
Yeah, you can't, like,
it's
not
slow,
like
but
Call of Duty or anything, but you're not just stuck like a tripod sitting there waiting to get munched.
They had a hard time letting go of that from the originals.
They did, absolutely. So I think that's...
And to be fair, you shouldn't be moving when you're shooting a gun.
No. Like, I mean, it's realistic to stand still while you shoot. If you move while you shoot, most people are not going to hit the broadside of a barn with a gun. So I have a good feeling that that'll change. Matt, do you have any fear that they may actually cut some content? Because that has been true of the remakes so far. Not a ton, but some.
Maybe.
Because Resident Evil 4 also is a much bigger game.
It's a very long game.
Than Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe. Yeah. Like, again, it's not really a concern to me. Like, this game is going to be what it is, and the old game is there. Yeah. Like, in a way that the others are not, because I find the original 2 and 3 unplayable now, more or less. Like, I don't, so it'd be more important to me that the remakes turned out well there. This is more of an experiment to me.
Yeah. It's like a bonus. Yeah. Because this game is still here. Yeah. And we can still go back and
still playable. It's not.
It's still fun.
Yeah, it still works.
Yeah. I have a feeling they will cut content. I do not see them creating a 20-some hour remake of RE4.
Maybe, but the others were. I mean, you can finish this thing real fast
if you know what you're doing.
And the others, the 2 and 3 are like that too. If you don't know what you're doing,
you can finish 2 and 3 in like an hour,
a couple hours. But if you don't know what you're doing in 2, you're going to take like 10. I mean, it's it wouldn't be that difficult to put everything, especially doing more of an open. What I would think is, like, if they're going more open worldy, you might see a lot of content that used to be in separate areas all in the same area. Like maybe you can go here and here out of sequence. What would be out of sequence for the original version? Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yep. There were like 4 revs of Resident Evil 4 that were 3 of them were canned. Obviously, they finally decided on the direction that we're seeing right now. But one of the original revs, there was an enemy that kind of stalked you through the game that had this huge like pair of scissors. And they ended up cutting that idea and going with what ultimately became Resident Evil 4. So maybe it wouldn't be that out of the question to slide something like that in there. I don't know. I would not be a fan of that, but I'm not the one making the game, am I? So overall, how do you feel about this, Matt?
Fine.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for it. Yeah. And the fact that it's coming really soon makes me even more excited. By the way, you can buy Leon's jacket for $1,500.
Yeah, I'm good. We don't really need something like that in LA.
Yeah, there's a clothing boutique in New York that they actually gave credit to for the trailer of the remake, and if you go and look, the jacket sells for $1,500. So you can go buy your own Leon jacket if you want to.
If you want to emulate that, pillar of smooth style. If you too would like to get roundly rejected by Ava.
That's right. I forgot about that. So anyway, there you go. That's Resident Evil 4 Remake, something that we've been talking about for a while on GameFace, and it is real, and it is happening, and it is. Here's the other thing. Next gen only. Mm-hmm. Is this a big turning point for third-party games, you think?
I mean, not a turning, but I think that's just the natural curve. Is like next year you're going to start.
You think next
stuff.
year is when we move?
Because also don't forget that the devs, the other third-party companies got the hardware specs on these pretty late.
Yeah.
I think you're both up against the time period it takes for people to adopt the new platforms, and you're up against didn't get to start knowing what we were working with until pretty late. Yeah. Plus COVID. So I think next year you're just sort of going to naturally see, the next gen only projects finally start to come to fruition because it's been, going to be 3 years.
It's time. Yep. Let's look at chat and see what you guys are saying about the RE4 remake. Shneaky saying, what was cut from 2 and 3 that was needed? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't any huge scenes or anything like that. Big Dave Lezard, I just want my robot Salazar. All right, fair enough. I only played RE4 on Wii. I didn't like it. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, one of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah, and still is. I also tried playing it not on the Wii.
Yeah, that might help as well.
I know people think it's like, oh, it's better to aim. No, it's a pain. Like, I didn't like it on the. It's one of my favorite games of all time too, and I hated the Wii version. Also, it was ugly.
Eric Cartmenes says, "Cut the island, please." Yeah,
I wouldn't miss it.
Yeah, that was the weakest part of the game.
Yeah.
I would argue that sniping section too was one of the weaker parts of the game.
Yeah, it's not amazing.
It was annoying, and it was one of those parts where I finished it and I was like, "Thank God I don't have to do that again."
Yeah.
Not Cirque says, in 5 you couldn't move and shoot, but 6 you can.
Okay.
Yep.
And you can in the remakes, as I recall.
Yep. Slowly, but you can. Yep.
I would like to see a Dino Crisis remake.
Didn't the merchant follow you in 8? Could be like that. I mean, he set up shop in different places throughout the world, but he wasn't following you.
No. Although I mean the wording is very vague in the little bullet point thing, so it's hard to say.
The merchant in Village, it wasn't.
He just happens to be everywhere you go.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was following you around, or there was like a narrative that he's following you around. And wasn't the merchant in RE4? He moved around too.
He did, but you learned more about the guy in 8.
Yeah. Yep. He was part of the plot a little bit.
Yeah.
The merchant in RE4 was just this dude that showed up and said, "What are you buying?"
It's never ever been explained. Like it's just like what is that? Like
it's just a dude.
Not even hinted. What the deal is with him.
It's pretty crazy. So anyway, there you go. This Resident Evil 4 remake, one of the big games that was shown in Sony's State of Play. Next up, another gigantic game, Street Fighter 6. Matt.
A lot of Capcom.
A lot of Capcom. I feel out of step a little bit with the hive mind on Street Fighter 6. I was not impressed with what I saw, particularly when I watched the trailer. In fact, I thought some of the trailer was embarrassing. Now, I will say this. When I followed up and started digging for information on the game, I felt a little better about it. Because it isn't just about like this new visual style that I feel like they've been like nudging towards for a long time, and now it feels like they finally just said, you know what, we're just going to do it the way we've been wanting to do it all along. Because in the prior Street Fighter games, they would have this first trailer that was like kind of just cinematic CG. It would have a lot of the crazy like ink stuff in it. But then when you would actually play the game, you'd almost have to squint to like see that stuff in it. Street Fighter 6, it's just over the top. Like the fighting in it is just like a flourish of ink, essentially. So watching the trailer, I was really disappointed in the game. In fact, I thought it looked like really amateurish. And then I started digging into the details of it a little bit more, and there are a ton out there. I went to Capcom's official Street Fighter 6 website, and I literally have, I don't know, about 1,000 words of notes here about Street Fighter 6. What do you think of it, Matt?
I mean, I like it. Like, again, I don't care. I mean, it has that plasticky Capcom engine.
It's the RE engine.
Yeah, which like just
they're using for everything.
Yeah,
now.
That's just what Capcom games look like. So like, I'm not a huge fan of the way the art style has evolved over 4 to 5 to 6. Like, Yeah, I get what they're going for, but it doesn't really do much for me.
Yeah.
I do like that there's more color in this one. Like the ink stuff is different colors. There's sort of a graffiti sort of flavor to it in places.
Yeah, they talk about that actually.
Like I like it. I think the sketchiest part is this open world sort of like single player campaign thing in the hoodie. Like I assume this is going to be
right there. What is? Look at the character model on the right. He looks like he's a plastic doll.
Yeah, well, I think he's just like a random NPC that you probably do a fetch quest for. Or
this shot in particular, I was just like, this is a Street Fighter game? I mean, it almost looks like Punch-Out, honestly.
I mean, that's just, random do questy overworldy thing. That's like, you can't judge it by that. It's like judging like Tekken by the stupid Tekken side-scrolling Final Fight mode they'd stick in things. It's just silly. The fighting stuff looks interesting. They're taking a lot of different systems from a lot of different Street Fighters to the point that like a lot of people are wondering like how are you going to layer all this stuff on top of itself so many times and come out with something that is are you going to be able to do that thing where Chun-Li is sort of like just dodging shit and you can't touch
I have a whole rundown of the whole.
That was all the people were like, okay, how close is this to what we're going to be doing? And Capcom's answer seems to have been like, oh, yeah, this is all in there.
It is. So the new fighting system is called the Drive System. Basically, you spend your entire... there's a drive gauge that you can build up.
I'm just curious how Ryu's skeleton keeps getting bigger over time. It's like one thing he gets in better shape, but I'm like, that man's rib cage is bigger than it was in Street Fighter 4.
Yeah.
And I guess Ken lost his family.
Oh, really?
He got divorced.
What?
He was divorced and she took the kids. It's almost like, oh, how's that going to affect his super? I guess.
So you do have a drive meter or a drive gauge, and it fills up automatically. But as in all fighting games, knowing when to use it and when not to use it and let it rebuild is a big part of the strategy. There's, I think, 5 different elements of the drive system. There's Drive Impact, which is a powerful strike that can absorb an opponent's incoming attack. You perform it on an opponent backed into the corner to induce a wall splat, even if they block the attack. There's Drive Parry, which automatically repels an opponent's attack and replenishes your drive when performed successfully. If you perform a perfect parry by parrying just before an opponent's attack hits you. Then there's Overdrive, where you press 2 of the same button types instead of 1 when performing a special move to turn it into an Overdrive Art. These are the same attacks as EX special moves in past games. Then there's the Drive Rush, where you perform a quick rush forward from a drive parry or a cancelable normal attack. Drive Rush from a parry costs 1 drive stock, while Drive Rush from a normal attack costs you 3 drive stocks. And then there's the Drive Reversal, where you perform a counter attack while blocking an opponent's attack. The damage is low, but it can help you out of tight situations when you're being pressured. And then, Matt, there's this entirely new control scheme called the Modern Control Type, where you can pull off all the moves with 1 button press, like Hadoukens with 1 button press. How do you feel about that?
It's fine.
Yeah, you're okay with that?
Like, it's a learning tool, and I'm sure that even if you can do that, you're not going to be pulling off high level stuff with that. It's just going to help people learn to play the game.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, you still have to learn how to string your combos together.
Because it makes sense to put something that assist heavy in a game that has the stuff you just listed off, because you list that off to a casual player and they're gonna be like, I don't know what half of those words mean. It sounds like a pretty intimidating system to get your head around. It sounds like it's gonna make for some really good tournament play once people really understand how all this works together. Mm-hmm. I'm trying. Just reading that before, I was trying to think of who do I know that will learn all these things to play with me? Nobody.
Yeah.
It's just
it makes it more likely that people will be willing to play now, because they don't have to be able to pull off some of these half circle, full half circle, quarter half circle.
Sometimes it can be interesting to try to get past some of these assist mode things if you're a more experienced player. Yeah. It's like that thing about how it's very hard to play poker against someone who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because
you can't guess what they're thinking.
You can't guess what they're thinking because their strategy doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So, we'll see.
As far as modes are concerned, they've only announced 3 so far. World Tour is one of them. It's an immersive single-player story mode They call it a completely new experience that defies genre labels. Carve out your own legend on the streets. And then there's a battle hub, which is the ultimate place for players to seek out friendly rivalries, where you must build yourself into a champion. And then they're trying to kind of sell like the graffiti angle and all that kind of stuff that they've included in the game. They said from the graffiti to the music that beats while you hustle into the fight itself. You'll also experience a new graphical quality that'll let you really feel the dynamics of your body. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that just feels like direct translation.
Yeah. Fighting Ground is one of the other modes, and that's basically all the old Street Fighter modes all corralled into one option. So it's just basically Fighting Ground is the old school stuff, and then World Tour is the new kind of open world, pseudo open world single player stuff where you actually kind of build your career. How do you feel about that, Matt? I mean, it's better obviously than a lot of single player modes we've had in Street Fighter, so it's an improvement, but does it sound interesting to you at all?
Maybe, we'll see. I mean, I like some like the weird, that's kind of similar to what Mortal Kombat's done a little bit in places. Not like the recent ones, but the ones back where the series was terrible. Where you'd run around as a character and sort of like you'd be involved in the story. I mean, we'll see. Like, I don't know. It doesn't. I appreciate that they're trying to do something other than what they did last time, which was not include anything.
Yeah.
So.
And then most of the characters, it seems like most of the launch characters were leaked yesterday.
Yeah, the whole roster's out there at this point.
And Capcom acknowledged basically that it's legit. So.
Yeah. It's a good lineup.
It is. It has all the original 8, which is the first thing that people ask for.
Yeah, I think that's what you definitely need, the original 8,
one
way or the other. Everybody's got their favorite out of that group.
Yep. Or 2 or 3.
Yeah.
So that's good. Like, I had no problem with the roster. It is kind of cool that we're getting to a point where some publishers are just willing to admit when their stuff gets leaked.
Yeah.
Because
I also like that there's
not that long ago they'd have been like, "Oh, we do not comment on rumors or speculation."
Yeah, screw it. Like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Akuma looks like that. He's got a man bun now. We know.
Yeah.
And I like that a couple returning. It's always fun to see like the returning characters that used to be new, and now they're like, oh, Juri's been in like 2 games, so now like it's kind of like, oh yeah, she's sort of old school now in a way.
Yeah, it's a new generation of characters, which I will fully admit I play with none of them. Do you? Do you have any favorite new characters that you like to play with?
Yeah, I like what's his name? The Arabian guy.
Oh,
Rashid. Or
yeah, he's big in tournament play.
Yeah,
he's always in the grand finals.
He's very, very good.
Yeah, and he's very, very common for high level players.
I like Laura, and I like I haven't played these games in forever. Is it Juri? Is it the spider girl? Like the Korean? She was new in 4 with the legs, and she was like kind of evil.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember her name.
Juri is one of the dolls.
This is Juri, right?
Yeah. I can't remember. I actually can't remember her name, but I liked.
Well, there's so many now. It's like, how could you possibly even remember them all?
Yeah.
The roster is gigantic at this point for Street Fighter. It's great. It means there'll be a ton of DLC coming eventually, and the initial roster is no slouch.
But I am more of I play Guile and Ken.
Me too.
And Chun-Li.
I play a lot of Ken.
I guess it is Juri.
Oh yeah. So Juri is the spider girl you were talking about?
June, she's got the pink and the goth hair, and she's like,
yeah. I know you're talking about.
It was her and Rufus, the fat guy.
Oh yeah,
were the 2
with
new
the big
characters
chain or
4.
whatever.
No, Rufus, the fat guy from 4.
I'm thinking of a different fighting game of a portly guy with a chain.
That's Earthquake from Samurai Showdown.
That's it. Yeah. But they look similar, actually, with the big pot belly.
A little bit, yeah. Rufus isn't 9 feet tall, but
he also was a pretty common character for high-level play. I've seen him in a lot of tournaments in grand finals.
Rufus, yeah. Justin Wong, a bunch of the high-level guys, Wong and Ricky Ortiz, and a bunch of people played him for a long time, and he was top tier until like probably arcade.
Yeah,
when the twins showed up, and I can't remember which. I think it was Yang. Was like just everybody played. Like all the top 10, all the grand finals were just like Yang. And then the final version of 4 finally sort of leveled everything out a little better.
Yeah.
But and 5 like just went back and forth a lot. There were never any really like dominant characters, I don't think, that I can remember. But I will admit I fell out of 5, the tournament scene in 5. In part because like everybody I knew, I when 4 came out, I was involved in like shooting a bunch of those tournaments, and I was out covering it from G4, and I knew all those guys, and I still will say hi to some Justin Wong and all those guys when I see them at events. Not that I've seen them at an event in 3 years,
yeah,
but like. I know those guys, and like so back in the day when I was really into like Evo and the tournament scene, it was because I was kind of rooting for people I knew, like I was kind of rooting for
your friends,
some friends, or at least acquaintances that I'd played with, and now it's like they've all been replaced by these younger kids, and I appreciate, I really enjoy, Sonic Fox and Punk, and a lot of those people are really great players, but I don't have the emotional attachment to them, not knowing them in person.
Yeah.
So it's sort of a more detached thing now. I don't keep up with it as much as I used to.
Yep. Let's take a look in chat and see what our fans are saying about Street Fighter 6. And again, I will say I was really bummed when I just watched the trailer, and the more I've learned about the game, the actual nuts and bolts of the fighting and everything, I've kind of come around a little bit. Okay's Money was saying Shane was thinking of Birdie. He's right. That's who I was thinking
Birdie?
of.
Okay,
yeah. Yep.
There are a lot of big guys with chains.
Yeah. Let's see. You guys aren't saying much. Oh, Barry Lomax. I'm a hardcore player, and all the mechanics make me anxious because there's new stuff to learn, I'm guessing. Yeah. I can understand
That's a lot of interactions to learn. It's not like it's like, oh, there's this ability, and then there's this ability, and there's this ability, which is usually... But that sounds like all these new systems are all interacting with each other, and it's going to be like a paper, rock, scissors, Spock, rattlesnake thing, where it's like, okay, I got to remember a lot of things all at once in the space of 3 frames.
People are bummed that Sea Viper isn't announced yet.
Yeah, Sea Viper has been weirdly missing in action since she popped up in one of the Versus games. I don't know why she gets... Because she never made it into 5. One of the few characters in the history of the franchise that never made it into 5. So it's a little weird.
Yep.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw her, though. They tend to know.
And actually, one Supermaster Gamer brings up a good point. It's multi-platform this time. It's not PlayStation exclusive. So it should do very well, I think. It looks like most people are pretty excited for it. But he does bring up a good point, though, Matt. And that's that, if you play football or you play soccer or basketball or whatever, the rules rarely change. They may make small tweaks to, like, insignificant rules that may come up once every 15 games or something. But they never really change the core crux of how something plays. And that's something that's different about esports, is that these games do evolve and change over time. You can't just say, I'm good at Street Fighter, and just jump in and play every Street Fighter. That's just not how this works. And also, a lot of people are complaining right now about Overwatch, because it is fundamentally changing how that plays for Overwatch 2. And that's just a big difference between esports and regular sports. Like, they just evolve and change.
They don't change the shape of the football each
No, they
season,
don't.
So.
But this, he's right, though. This is a huge change for Street Fighter.
Yeah.
It's a whole brand new system everyone's going to have to learn, and a new meter everyone's going to have to learn.
I saw an art, it was a dumb article, but it described Overwatch as like D&D with laser fights. And I'm like, oh, yes, famous D&D equivalent first-person shooter multiplayer. What? Like,
okay. Yeah.
Imagine if someone wrote about baseball and was like, it seems like something similar to sword fighting with that bat and everything. It's just like, no, shouldn't you know something about what you're writing about before you publish an article?
Yeah. Eth Demon is saying that the control scheme is basically Smash Brothers controls.
I think that's what the thing with the 1-button stuff is, but I guarantee you it'll have a 6-button standard Street Fighter control scheme.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. And I can see why they do it for Smash, because obviously there's a lot of young kids.
There's always a baseline. Like, I'm always going to be a little better than the average person at one of these games, just because I've been playing fighting games for 30 years, and I know instinctively how frame data works, and plus and minus on it. I feel those things in the moment, in a way that, like, if someone who doesn't know that's how that, I understand what recovery time is. I understand where the hitboxes are. Even that can make a big difference in a close match. But yeah, you got to learn those new things and kind of paste them on top of your existing skill set. And it depends. Like, I never ever quite got the focus system down in 4. Like, the focus attack thing never quite clicked with me.
Oh, really?
5 systems made more sense to me.
I'd agree with that, actually. Yeah.
Even though clearly the focus system worked very well. I mean, you could see in the high level play, like they pulled some amazing stuff off of that. But I never got my mind around how that thing worked.
Yeah, I think the World Tour mode in this is going to be embarrassingly bad. I'm just going to go out on a limb right now and say that. But I do think the fighting in this will at least be different. And I mean, it's Street Fighter. It's still going to be great. So I think it'll be a lot of fun to play. I do think some of the extra modes, at least they're trying something different and they're trying to move in a new direction. Maybe by Street Fighter 9, it'll actually be something decent and worth playing. But my expectations are pretty low right now for it.
I mean, we'll see. It's no, there has never been a good story mode in Street Fighter.
No,
like Street Fighter stories. I mean, and it's like there's no reason Street Fighter story needs to be terrible, but it is always every time.
Yep.
You know, it is starting to shape up to be an interesting time for fighting games again after kind of a period of dormancy, I would say. I cannot believe the Tekken guys are showing up in Virtua Fighter.
Yeah,
like, that is. There was a time when that would have been blasphemy.
Oh, sacrilege, yeah.
Like, that was... Tekken versus Virtua Fighter used to be the whole thing back in the day. And now it's like, oh, we're just going to put those in there. It's like, wow. What a time to be alive.
Times they are changing.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. So anyway, there you go. That's Street Fighter 6. Again, it's coming to both Xbox and PlayStation and PC. Unfortunately, no Switch version. Surprise, surprise.
I'm not shocked by that one.
There are a couple of games we're going to talk about here in a minute, though, that do have Switch versions. And I'm like, really? How is that going to happen? But first, we're going to talk about Final Fantasy 16. So coming next year.
Told you.
Yeah. Yeah, you called that quite a while ago.
There have been people that...
They said it was going to release last year.
I mean, they said we were going to see it last year, and then we didn't.
Yeah.
And there are people just... I have had knockdown, drag-out arguments with people that were adamant this game was coming this year. And I was like, no! Like...
Not going to make it.
There was not a chance in hell. Not a chance.
And this, as far as we know, is still PlayStation exclusive. They have not announced...
Yeah, they haven't said anything about other platforms. I mean...
I think we're all rooting for PC at the very least, but...
You'd think.
It's not set in stone yet, that's for sure. We learned a lot more about the story in this game and a lot of the elements in the game. Not necessarily from watching this trailer, which I found this trailer really hard to follow as far as the narrative it was trying to tell or explain.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is Square.
I was just like, what are you talking about?
I have more faith in the narrative in this game, though, because it's the Final Fantasy 14 people.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not going to just dismiss that, as I feel like maybe some of that was just how the trailer was cut.
Yeah. Well, they did a blog post on the PlayStation blog.
But God, I hate the combat looking. It's just like that whole just the endless strings and numbers popping out of it. It's just like
the combat was designed by the guy who designed Devil May Cry 5's combat.
Yeah, it looks like it. It's not really what I want out of an action RPG.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. How do you feel about that?
I think
having a crazy combo-heavy system.
I don't want every fight to last for 40 minutes. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
I just get. 15 had that problem too, where it's just like not everything. There's 3 wolves. How come I got to do a full fucking combo out of this thing? Like, it's just I appreciated that there was a point in the old games where it was just like dun dun dun. You're through this stuff, and the big fights were the big fights, and that was it.
Yeah.
Not everything's got to be a fucking test of reflexes here. Like, a lot of this stuff looks cool, but there's also things that make me, think it's going to be real tedious. Yeah. Which is just sort of, that should pretty much be on the box of Final Fantasy at this point. Looks real cool, but it's going to get tedious, just so you know.
Yeah. Here's a synopsis of the plot, and this is word for word from Square Enix. And honestly...
And what is with all these characters? Half the people anyone over 20 in these games looks like they should be voiced by Kiefer Sutherland. Like...
Even the written synopsis of the plot, I don't know that it makes all that much more sense.
Fucking bomb dropped on how you pronounce Ifrit.
Ifrit. Yeah.
Everyone was like, how do you pronounce this? Apparently a lot of people have been saying that the other way. And
I've always said it that way.
Yeah, well, that's how you're supposed to say it. That's not a made-up Final Fantasy word. That's a real word from Arabian mythology. Yeah. But apparently people were saying Ifrit all this time. And I'm like, I guess because they just made it phonetic. And it's like, no, that's an actual word.
Here's the plot synopsis. Permanent economic advisor Hugo Kupka's meteoric rise to prominence was sudden, if not unexpected. Mm-hmm. Once a nameless foot soldier in the Republican Army, his awakening as dominant of the icon Titan thrust him to the forefront of Dhalmikian politics. It was here he used his newfound position as the most powerful man in the Republic to exert influence over both the nation's armies and its policymaking, amassing a personal fortune in the process. Yet while it was said that a man who has everything wants for nothing, I can't even pronounce it.
What is it?
Beneditka Harmon will teach him money and power are far from all the world has to offer. Having emerged from the storm of youth, cold-hearted and ruthless, Harmon, dominant of the Ekin Garuda, warden of the wind, turned her talent for swordplay and subterfuge into a command of Wallow's elite intelligencers. It's on a mission to find the elusive second icon of fire that she crosses paths with a like-minded Clive and is forced to face her past. The actual what?
I guess, do they just Mad Libs this stuff at this point? Like it's like they find and replace like 14 fantasy novels at once. But this feels like it's very Game of Thrones inspired.
It's very political.
Yeah, like there's a lot. We're gonna do like a political. I presume that's her.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of like I got a couple of Destiny flashbacks in there where it was just like, oh, you're just capitalizing a word and it's making it's supposed to be a thing now. Okay.
Yep, it's set in the land of Valisthea. It's the home to magical superstructures called Mother Crystals that grant people the power to use magic.
So Final Fantasy.
Yeah. All the major geopolitical players in Valisthea have organized their government and culture around these crystals as they're a major source of power and conflict. Dominants are people born with the ability to summon and control icons. Those are basically summons. Mm-hmm. Clive Rosefield was expected to inherit the power of the icon of fire, Phoenix, but that power passed him over in favor of his timid brother, Joshua. Joshua has two icons in the same body, Phoenix and Ifrit, and nations want him as a weapon. So basically, you play as the brother of this dude who is hyper powerful, and everyone wants control of him to help them win their wars. So there's kaiju battles in this, Matt. Mm-hmm. The summons you can actually.
This seems to be the new hotness between this and Bayonetta 3.
I guess so. And as I said, the combat is designed by DMC5 and Dragon's Dogma developer, a developer that worked on both those games. And there are epic clashes between the icons themselves that put you right in the action. The trailer that we just saw, this is the old one. The trailer that we just saw introduced several new icons, summons again. I don't know why they just don't call them freaking summons. Why did they have to come up with a new name for them? As well as provided a more detailed peek
new game
at the battle system and the freedom it gives players. I agree with you. I don't want battles that last 20 minutes to fight like a rank and file enemy. I don't know if that's how it's going to play out.
I'm beginning to feel like maybe, looking at a lot of this, and like, a lot of this doesn't look like Final Fantasy. And some of it does, because it's just like Final Fantasy stuff made in, attempts at photorealistic 3D. And it's not like I don't like the stuff that doesn't look like Final Fantasy. It's just like, okay, these guys like look like pretty realistic and in terms of a fantasy thing, and they're doing all this fantasy fighting and like it's cool. And then it cuts to like a cactar. I'm just like, maybe we should just leave the 16-bit stuff in the past at this point. Maybe like reanimating all the iconic Final Fantasy stuff in realistic 3D is not the way.
It's fan service, yeah.
But you're right. It sort of takes me out of it.
I agree. But this game in particular, it seems to stray so far. Like, notice how he has, like, that stone hand that he can use? Mm-hmm. That's apparently part of having one of the icons, the summons.
Yeah, I get the impression it's sort of like the icons almost overwrite you, and, like, you can use them as special moves and stuff.
Yeah, because you can use them and fight them as kaiju, but they also give you special powers. Like, the stone kaiju, or I'm sorry, the stone summons gives him that stone fist that he can use in normal combat. So, I don't know. How is this all shaping up for you, Matt?
I mean, I'll wait and see. Like, I'm interested because of who's making it. Mm-hmm. Like they've done a good job with 14, and the writing on that has been pretty solid. So like, maybe. I'm always you're always gonna raise an eyebrow with me with kaiju fights.
Yeah.
A lot of them are very underwhelming in game. A lot of times they don't really know how to do that very well. Mm-hmm. But they can lead some good moments if you know when to use them.
Yep.
So we'll see.
One Supermaster Gamer is asking if there is a party system. It seems like there's only one playable character at a time. They have not really announced that yet.
They haven't really talked about that, but I'm guessing it's going to be sort of like 15, where you basically pick one.
Yeah.
And you probably switch back and forth. It's about like, it seems like if you're going to do a Devil May Cry Dragon's Dogma style combat system, I feel like you're going to basically be focusing on one character. Or maybe it would be more, I'm sure you can switch between some stuff, but I would imagine you're going to pick one you like and let the AI deal with the others and sort of give them commands or whatever. Also, that's sort of more the strength of this team. Like, they've done the MMO, so you're more focusing on one person or multiplayer, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like, if you're talking about the person designing the combat, most of that combat's designed around one person. And also, you can probably look the Final Fantasy VII Remake as a cue for that. You're playing as Cloud in that. You know, like, yeah, you can do stuff with the other characters, but really, Cloud's the center of that combat system.
Absolutely. We have a couple questions, or actually some comments too. Ethiman says it feels like Game of Thrones because it's written by the Final Fantasy XIV Heavensward team, which was very Game of Thrones inspired. So I guess that aesthetic is coming through a little bit here in Final Fantasy XVI.
I mean, there's almost no anime in this at all. Except for that like young kid at one point.
Nightwing. Like, what exactly? Like, it's like I just read it and I still really have no idea what I just read.
What I am worried about is like if we're gonna get to this, you got these like ultra realistic looking like kings and whatever, and you're gonna have people running around. It's like like doing the weird anime grunting. So I hope they finally get their act together on how to like voice this and present it, and it doesn't have to like lean into that stupid anime trope thing.
Yeah,
like just do a game. It's time to move past that. Square needs to move past that and make these games for a worldwide audience.
Yep.
You're never gonna quite lose that stigma until you stop. Until you drop the anime shenanigans.
Sneaky brings up a good point though. He said that some of the boss fights in Elden Ring could take a really, really long time to win. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think it'll affect. But like a lot of the
boss fights in Elden Ring, you're trying to get around the mechanics and try to use like these things and chip away. Like it's not like this where it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna juggle this wolf for like 50 hits, and I'm just like, can't I just hit him 3 times and be done?
Yeah.
Like I don't have to do that in Elden Ring. Like the wolves attack me, and I'm just like, boom, 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 you're done.
Either they're dead or I'm dead.
Yeah. It's not like
it's not a lot of pomp and circumstance. Yeah. Kevin Roffa says, how would this be worse than Final Fantasy 15?
It couldn't be. Like I have a very hard, I can't even imagine.
15.
I can't even imagine how this would be worse than 15. It's not. It's being made by vastly more talented and skilled people.
It's true.
Like that's.
Yeah.
I have no. I mean, I'm really just looking at like, is this going to be the first Final Fantasy I like since 12?
Right.
Because normally I only like every 6th one. Like originally I was like, okay, 18 is going to be my game.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to get their 2 games early if
Forspoken might be the one you need to worry about because that Illuminous team that created Final Fantasy 15 is
now
creating
again
Forspoken.
Better writing talent on that one, so we'll see. And also, like I don't mind a combat system like that and more of an actiony, open worldy looking like that looks more, and also that looks like it has more variety to it. You've got projectiles, the problem I had with like Final Fantasy 15 stuff was like it was just the teleport over and over again. Like the teleport was the bread and butter of that system. You could do stuff with it, but it wasn't much else to it. And it's the other thing is like you have to make it feel responsive. Like the problem I have with 15 and 7 Remake to a lesser degree, but still there, is how if you're gonna make like a juggly Devil May Cry character action style combat system, do it.
Yeah.
And don't do that thing where like, oh, you hit the button a little too fast, so he just stands there because it's still an RPG. Just make him play like an action game character.
I agree with that. Yep.
Like because both 15 and 7 sort of have a thing where there's moments where you feel like you're playing against a wall or you're playing like in sludge almost because the game has to slow you down because you're fighting against the kind of the RPG systems in it.
Yeah,
and
counting the numbers.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, just let me play an action game. If that's what you want to make, then do it.
Yeah, I agree.
And I mean, at least hiring the Devil May Cry guy seems to indicate that that's a good sign, because that doesn't feel like that in Devil May Cry. Doesn't feel like that in Dragon's Dogma.
But to your point, some fights can take a really long time in Devil May Cry.
They can,
and you're like up in the air and you're juggling them like 5 times.
I mean, when I'm talking, I'm talking about like shots in that where he's like doing those huge 8-hit 8-hit like super swing things, and you see like the guy gets hit for 13 points 14 times, and his life bar moves like 3 pixels. And I'm just like, it's gonna take forever. And I know it's gonna be a thing where you have to, you build this up and then build that bar up, and then you can hit him with this. Well, exploits his weakness, and then he gets staggered, and then you do double damage. It's like yeah, but just. He's just a guy that I ran into on the road. Like, I don't want to do all that shit for like a rando mob. You know, like that's the thing that these games get bogged down in a lot, like with the Final Fantasy stuff. Like,
and it would be hard to create a combat system that is more forgettable than the combat system that was in Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah,
it is utterly forgettable.
I didn't like 7, but I will give it credit for that. At least I remember how that game plays. Right. And the only thing I remember of 15 is his constant teleporting.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's the latest update on Final Fantasy 16. It is coming in 2023, so we still got a little ways to go.
Did they say when in 2023? Was that an early 2023?
I think it's like mid 2023. They're going to have a lot of time to polish this because they're saying that it's basically feature complete already.
Right.
So that's good. Like if you have 9,
but I've always said like
10 months.
Everyone's like, oh, we got it. I'm like, they're not showing us. They show these Square show stuff a year away. Mm-hmm. You know, like we were never until. Start the clock. We'll probably see it in May next year if we're lucky.
I mean, obviously we got to look at this quite a while ago, but yeah, a
little bit. I'm always scared. Like, I always wonder what happened to that one demo. They always said it wasn't really a game, but it sure looked like they'd thought about it. It was that demo they did for that new engine they never ended up using in like 2012 or something. It was like the girl who controlled the fire mage abilities. Oh
yeah,
and like they chased her through like that vertical mountain city kind of thing. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember it.
And it was like named something in Latin, so I can never remember what it was called. But like that was like it was supposed to be the demo of their new engine that they never used.
Right.
But like that looked pretty interesting.
It did.
And then they never mentioned it again.
Yep. Okay, so that's the latest on Final Fantasy 16. Still got a way to go until we play it. I do think it's looking encouraging overall, though.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty excited.
It looks better than the last one.
It does. Like, I'm pretty excited to give it a go. So, hopefully I won't be proven wrong.
Ignis something.
Yep. That's actually what I was going to say. Ignis something. Yeah.
I think that was her name. Or so, Ignis.
Maybe.
If I remember right. It was like a cult. It was like a cult chasing her or something.
Maybe.
All these guys in red robes.
Yeah, I remember that part of it. Yep. Okay, let's move on. Next, we're going to discuss... Maybe not a surprise. Actually, it's really not a surprise anymore. But another PlayStation exclusive is coming to PC. Marvel Spider-Man Remastered is coming to PC on August 12th. Not long to wait. Miles Morales coming in the fall. Mm-hmm. Feels like they're starting to bump up the release schedules for these a little bit more on PC.
Yeah, well, I think once you get Spider-Man up, Miles is a pretty quick port.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was even like a matter of time. I think it's more of the decision-making with deciding when you want this stuff to release for PC.
Yeah, well, I think you're never seeing a Sony exclusive hit PC less than a year after PlayStation release. But Miles has been out for 2 at that point. So
yeah.
And you might as well. I mean, especially because you got another one coming.
Yeah, I mean, the sales are done. Yeah. Like, you're not going to squeeze it more.
You want to
kind
of clear those decks.
Yeah.
And...
you might as well strike while the iron's still kind of warm.
Yeah. Plus, you're about to have a Miles movie come out in October. Mm-hmm. You know, the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse comes out in October, so you want to hit that in October.
Vincent said summer 2023 for Final Fantasy 16. Right. So yeah, middle of the year.
No, that's good. Like more people that get to play these games, the better.
Absolutely. And there's more money in Sony's coffers to make more great games.
I can't wait to see what they look like on the high-end PC hardware.
I mean, this is supposed to be it. I mean, this footage is supposed to be running on this is the actual trailer for the PC version.
It's different when you see it in person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. When you see it on a monitor with HDR and everything, it makes a big difference. So, but it's looking good. I don't know how you can make these games look all that much better, honestly.
Yeah, there is a ceiling at some point, but the ray tracing helps. But yeah,
looking good. And then next, a game that I've been keeping my eye on for quite a while, Stray. Matt tried to put the kibosh on this game and told me it was going to be delayed out of the year, but
I wasn't sure.
Thank God you were wrong.
They hadn't mentioned this thing in forever.
They hadn't. It had been quite a while. It is launching for PS4, PS5, and PC on July 19th. The other thing I noticed, Matt, if you go on Steam and look, it's selling for just $30.
Yeah, I think it was always going to be like a lower. It's smaller game. I think.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed to see that. I was kind of hoping it was going to be a little more robust. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be
I'm sure. Well,
quote-unquote indie length.
Yeah, I mean, whatever that means.
Yeah. To me, that means like 8 hours max.
So's God of War. So.
I mean, it took me a lot longer than that to be God of War 2018.
I mean, it took me longer to do everything, but I finished the main story in like 10, 11 hours. I mean, it's not that much longer.
Yeah.
Also, like, there's sometimes you run into things where it's like, there's only so long you want to play some of these games.
Yeah.
You know, once it shows you everything it's got, you know, there's only so many ideas left.
Well, these games in particular, like, will I want to replay this game? Probably not. My guess is it's really puzzle-driven. Mm-hmm. And so my guess is...
It's probably really sad.
Right.
So,
it's like, I don't want to subject myself to that again. We still don't know.
Don't kill that cat, Sony.
I know.
I know it's not Sony.
I do have a fear, though.
I mean, I would imagine we'll see some dead cats in this. It's probably not you. But
why do you think the robots are so scared of cats in this? They're terrified.
I don't know.
Like they run. He comes up the alleyway and they're like running.
I'm
for their
not sure
lives.
if they're scared of cats or if they're scared of the cat that has the AI companion.
Maybe.
Like they might be seeing.
I mean,
something.
did you see his eyeballs right there?
Yeah, I can't decide if that's part of the AI thing or if it's because like that's a reflective cat eye.
I don't know.
Also, or is there a thing in this where like there aren't many animals left?
No, there's lots of other cats.
There's other cats?
Yeah. You're just one of the crew, I believe. This game looks really awesome. I'm really excited for this game. Probably the most unique thing that I'll be playing in 2022. Even if it is only 5 to 8 hours long, I am really excited for those 5 to 8 hours.
I don't know if this is more unique than the butchering people in a tailor shop to serve them as meat pies.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
But
it's a close second. Give me that one, maybe.
The production values are higher. That's for sure.
But as you can see, it's set in a cyberpunk world, and you're a cat trying to solve an ancient mystery. And that's all they will say about it. We really have no other information other than what's been shown in these trailers. They're just really keeping it under wraps, which I'm okay with that. A little mystery, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah.
But I am really pumped for that. Again, $30 coming July 19th to PlayStation platforms and PC. And my guess is eventually it will come to Xbox as well. I think there are some rumblings that it might be part of PlayStation Plus. But I think you may have to pay for like the higher tiers to get it. It's not just like if you subscribe to the base tier like most of us do and you get those free games every month. I don't think it's one of those. I think it's like for one of the higher tiers. It's going to be added to the library. But do you think anyone's going to subscribe to those higher tiers?
No, I'd rather just buy the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, me too. You think it's better for the developer if you buy the game outright or just play it on PlayStation Plus?
I don't know. Most developers I've talked to about that don't care.
Yeah. Okay.
Like they got paid for the PlayStation Plus or Game Pass thing.
Yeah.
Either way.
Okay. Just trying to make sure we're maximizing developers' finances if we can. And that's pretty much it. We don't have much information on Stray. It's a cat walking around a cyberpunk world solving puzzles, and that's about all we know right now. And that there's some ancient mystery that the cat is trying to solve. And maybe we'll go in just that blind when it comes down to it. We'll see. Vincent says it's confirmed it'll be in the extra premium tier. Yep. So there you go.
So I'll be buying it then.
Yep, me too. AJ the Legend Watson, Stray may be in the vein of other puzzle platform games like Little Nightmares. I absolutely believe it is, yeah. Like, I don't think there's a lot of, like, action-based combat and stuff like that. I think it's more being smart and clever, like a cat. That's how cats roll. Next, maybe the game that I'm most excited for from this whole state of play, the Callisto Protocol. It is basically the new Dead Space from the original creators of Dead Space. And we had a teaser trailer that we got months ago.
Years ago.
Has it been years now?
The original reveal trailer was at the Game Awards like at least 2 years ago.
Was it?
I wrote a thing for it for IGN at some point.
Oh, okay.
It was and no one had ever seen it before.
How long ago did you write that?
Year. It was December like 2019.
And it never ran, I'm guessing.
No, it did.
Oh, it did run.
Yeah.
It's weird to do something like that so far away from release.
Yeah, I mean it's just about the trailer.
Right.
It's literally just an analysis of the trailer that went up like the same time it went up on Game Awards.
Oh, okay.
It was that one with a prison cell.
Yeah. Yeah. There's only 2 trailers for it. There's the debut trailer, and there's this new one that we just got in the state of play, and that's all there is. But I don't know. According to the studio, it's coming this year on December 2nd. Do you believe that?
I mean, I believe they believe it, but we'll see if it actually holds to it.
It's going to be delayed.
It's here's the future of the PUBG world.
I have 20% faith that this game will come out before the end of the year.
Yeah, it's probably not going to do it.
Also, Matt, it is no longer set in the PUBG universe.
Oh, no?
Nope. Glenn Schofield came out and said, nope, a while ago. We figured out it wasn't working, and we've now completely separated it from PUBG.
Does it matter?
It doesn't, no. I think he said there will be some Easter eggs that are nods to PUBG in the game, but otherwise it's its own thing, its own universe. They said I
love the idea that PUBG doesn't want to be trapped in this is the future. It's like, if we ever make games that cover the next 1,000 years of PUBG, what if we have to like make it make sense with this? This is like, okay, guys.
This trailer is gory AF. They pull no punches in this trailer at all. You play as the main character, Jacob Lee. He's trying to escape the Black Iron Prison in the year 2320 and uncover its terrifying secrets. You'll be able to interact with objects by pushing and pulling them. Not a surprise. It's a survival horror game. The weapons that they've shared so far that you can use are a baton, a pistol, and a shotgun. So there's not going to be some weird like mining tool thing like there was in Dead Space, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
How he just kind of used the tools of his trade to fight through the space station.
But you like cut them apart and
dismemberment. They haven't said anything about that yet either. Whether you're going to dismember enemies. I would hope so.
I would think so. Everything looks very modular and gory and
I would hope so, because that was one of the coolest things about Dead Space, I believe. So yeah, there are going to be normal weapons. Maybe you do get some weird, funky weapon, but there's also normal weapons in this, which was not the case in the original Dead Space. Here's a quote from the studio. "We want you to be afraid of single enemies." So basically hinting at like each encounter is going to be an event, which means that each enemy could maybe be difficult to handle. I'm kind of cool with that. These enemies look like they're worthy of this, like a big event for each one of them. What else do they say? All these tools we build up for Jacob are to deal with the difficulty, as opposed to coming at it from the end of, hey, you can kill all these cool things, now let's make some enemies. We did it in reverse for that very reason. You feel scared, and you have to make the right calls at the right time. Also, it appears that the in-game HUD from Dead Space has returned. You can see his health meter on his neck right there. Mm-hmm. Whereas before it was like a segmented thing that went up the character's back. Now the health meter is displayed on the neck with that green meter. So it looks like a lot of the tenets of Dead Space have made their way into the Callisto protocol, and that is a good thing, and I am really excited for this game. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. Mostly, you know me in horror. I don't.
All right.
I don't particularly care.
You like Dead Space, though, right?
I do like Dead Space, but Dead Space to me is more of the Resident Evil 4 vein. Like Dead Space isn't scary to me. It's just gory and like to me, I like the ripping them apart with the mining tools and like the slow-mo stasis thing you can do. Like it gives you a lot of fun tools to play with. They
use the stasis for a lot of puzzle solving
and like
stuff.
the atmosphere and kind of literally the atmosphere in plays where you have to walk out in the space and all the sound goes muffled and all that. Like Dead Space is a triumph of like presentation and game mechanics to me. Can they capture that lightning in a bottle again with this? Maybe, but
it's looking like it.
It could be.
I mean, this little montage right through here where it just shows.
Seems like we're going to be playing this before we're playing the Dead Space remake. So
it does.
Might as well.
Yeah, I mean, or they could come out like within a month of each other.
Yeah.
Because the Dead Space remake also is slated for like end of the year, early next year.
I mean, I'll give it a shot. I mean, certainly I'm impressed by the graphical fidelity and like how gross it is. So like I really like that shot of the guy peeling himself off the wall.
If you slow that down and start going like frame by frame through that trailer, there's some crazy stuff in there. Like I'm really excited for it.
Did you see the tweet today that was like it's like every once in a while you realize how well made Red Dead Redemption 2 is, and it's like. These two, it's like one of those, you meet a stranger and he tries to rob you kind of thing, you random stranger and he's like, okay, get off the horse or whatever. And it's the player, like the guy's on his horse and he holds a shotgun. He's like, okay, I'm not going to ask you again, son. And the guy just flips his lasso out to hit him and the lasso wraps around him and the guy tries to shoot the player, but the lasso has pushed his gun up like this and he shoots his own head off.
No way!
And falls off the horse. And I'm like... and it happens. You're like, what the hell was that? And it does it slow mo, and it's like, he just knocks himself. And it's like, Dead Space had tons of things like that, and I hope like that has stuff like where like just the systems sort of happen to end up creating these moments.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm really excited for the Callisto Protocol. I hope you guys are too. Let's take a look at chat very quickly. I know this may not be on a lot of people's radar, so you guys may not be that excited.
I think it will be increasingingly on radar.
I believe so as well, especially if it makes the end of the year. Kevin Rafa, are you sad it's no longer part of the PUBG universe? No, not really.
I'm only sad in the sense that I like telling people that and having them go, what? Yeah. Like, it's just so weird that would be a thing.
Vincent is saying its debut is at the Game Awards 2020.
All right.
And he also says that we're getting gameplay at Jeff's show on Thursday. So I think that's what Jeff's show is going to be.
Gameplay of things we already know.
Known quantities.
It seems likely.
Yeah, and that's good. I mean, there's
because his warnings have mostly been like, don't expect rapid fire surprises like the game. It's not the Game Awards, I think is what he says. Like Summer Games Fest seems to be more of an information festival, whereas Game Awards is like new things. Like Game Awards is surprises. Summer Game Fest seems like more like in-depth, like interviews, and it's less bombastic. It's more let's take a look at these things.
Yep. Danny Endurance agrees with me. Callisto was the best thing in the show. Case Money says Callisto Protocol looked impressive. And then Mega Drive guy dropped the Twitch Prime because he knew that the chat was on screen. Great job there, bro. Great timing. Okay. Now we get into the kind of the smaller things that were shown at the State of Play. First up is Roller Drome.
What is with the roller derby shit? Like, I couldn't believe that when they showed. I'm like, really?
So just
a day after we were like, where's all the roller derby games?
Just last week, we sent our chat on a scavenger hunt to find other roller derby games, and we could not find any. We found like one other one, other than Roller Champions, and literally we leave here, and 2 days later,
24 hours later,
it's Roller Drome. And this looks like a crazy looking game.
Yeah, I will also say, like, the developer, like, this is a very indie project, and the developer, she didn't know this was being shown until it happened.
Really?
Like she didn't realize it was going to be in this State of Play or something, and
wow.
People were like, "Oh my god, your game's on!" Like, so it was kind of fun to watch, like someone who didn't expect
a pleasant surprise,
this kind of exposure to suddenly your game's like all, and everybody knows what it is.
Game's crazy.
Yeah, look, like
it's like inline Tony Hawk's Pro Skater Inline.
Yeah, like it's like you gave the Jet Set Radio guys machine guns.
Yeah. It is M-rated, and obviously it is cel-shaded. It's set in 2030. It is a single-player roller derby game with guns and bullet time. It's made by the developers of Ollie Ollie World, Roll 7. The whole setup for it is kind of like a Running Man style thing. It's like a blood sport that people watch on TV.
Do you know what year the Running Man takes place in?
2030?
2017.
Oh, really? That's hilarious. Luckily, that did not come to pass, so that's good.
Wait for it.
You play as newcomer Kara Hassan, who must climb the Roller Drome ranks and become its new champion. She'll do this by skating and shooting her way through a number of deadly gauntlets against the house players. All the while, a sinister tech company is lurking in the shadows. And that's
a little bit of Mobius to this, too.
Yeah. Hopefully it's a lot better than Mobius. But this looks awesome, dude. I'm psyched for this game.
The artist, not the game.
Oh. Yeah, I think this looks cool. It looks like it's fun to play. There's nothing else like it. Maybe the next Tony Hawk takes some hints from this, because it needs something to make it exciting. It's a shame that Tony Hawk never went this direction, honestly.
Like dystopian?
Right? Yeah. I mean, seriously. There was many times where that series...
Skate 4.
I mean, there were many times where that series needed a kick in the pants, and they just could never figure out what that kick was.
I mean, back when they kept trying to make them into, like, weird pseudo-RPGs, like, it would have been fun if, like, one of them was just, like, the world ended, but we still gotta skate.
I mean, that kind of happened with coronavirus and COVID-19.
Right. And like you, instead of just, like, doing skating, like, to get sponsorships and stuff, it's like, we're the only ones who can get the food to the settlement, so we gotta, like, shred past the mutants or something.
Yeah.
Like, they should have just gone crazy with it.
I mean, it was crazy when, like, we were all in lockdown and, like, the biggest highways in Los Angeles were completely shut down. And people were just going out and just skating on the highway that goes like right through downtown and just made these awesome videos because you never do it again.
Yep.
You never could have done it before that, and you'll never be able to do it again. It was amazing. And forever on YouTube, these awesome videos of people skating like the 110 or the 10 with downtown LA in the background. It's really, really awesome. So
now everybody's
it's not that far-fetched, actually.
Now everybody's saying that I just figured out the hook in Death Stranding 2.
You see a new game from Kojima was leaked out today? Yeah.
Was it like out?
Some kind of a horror game of some type.
Overdose or something?
Yeah. A little clip of
I'm trying to picture Norman Reedus doing that stuff.
Yeah.
On a skateboard.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Norman Reedus mistook that for Death Stranding 2.
Maybe. You'd think he would be involved in that. You'd think someone would call him about it.
Yeah, or maybe he's in that too because it is a horror game. And he's just like, oh, it's Death Stranding 2, but it's really not.
I mean, he seems to be Kojima's new favorite.
Right.
So.
Yep. He replaced David Hayter.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Hater's gonna hate.
Sneaky says, what's funny is Fortnite are trailing rollerblades the last 2 months. Wonder which comes out first. I don't know what that means.
Trialing.
Oh, trialing.
They're thinking about putting rollerblades in the game.
That would be really dumb. Vincent says, so the answer is that they should have added skateboards to Death Stranding. That would have definitely made the traversal a lot more fun and quick. Okay. Next,
it's impossible for Norman Reedus to be that sad when he's got a skateboard.
How could he be?
How can you be that morose when you get to your destination if you just shred it all the way down that electric highway? Come
on. And then the final regular game, and I'll explain why I'm saying regular game here in a second, is Eternights. I believe that's how you say it. Coming in early 2023. Also a game that's for PS4, PS5, and PC. It is this weird mashup of Devil May Cry and Persona. It's like a hack and slash action game crossed with a dating sim, basically. Basically, in this one, Matt, you're trying to find love during the apocalypse. So you can skate and then find love in the apocalypse in these last couple games. The protagonist in this has like a magical arm. It's like his arm is severed, then he receives the ability to create a light construct from the severed arm and use it as a weapon. The plot for the game is a mysterious entity has infected humans, turning them into dangerous monsters obsessed with violence and power. As they stand between you...
How do you tell the difference?
Exactly. As they stand between you, a curse, and the world you want, you must race against the clock to fight for your survival and for those who you love. There's a calendar in the game like Persona with events that you need to follow. There's scavenging. There's like 3 tenets. There's scavenging, dungeon crawling, and dating. And then the battle system is real-time battles with quick-time events. In this game, we do know that there are 5 party members that fight alongside you. How you feel about this one, Matt? I'm a little surprised that this was in the state of play, to be honest.
I don't know if I feel anything about this one, but it's... Okay.
This is one of those games I was like, really? This made the cut for your state of play?
I mean, the production value is pretty high on it. I mean, I think the animated scenes look familiar to me, like art style. I think it might be somebody like a famous, famous artist.
It looks like
Death Note
or One Piece, maybe.
A little bit.
The buggy eyes.
Yeah, I mean, everything kind of looks like One Piece. One Piece is on some kind of hiatus now for something.
It is,
like
yeah.
That guy's doing something.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know.
See, it feels like
I'm probably not going to play this, if I'm honest. But all right.
AJ the Legend Watson says the art style looks like Catherine.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, basically what we're getting at here...
It looks very Atlas.
Basically what we're getting at here is it's very derivative. This game in general is very derivative. But for whatever reason, the eyeballs in this remind me of One Piece. It's like they're all on the verge of like popping out of their heads.
Yeah, there's some of that. It looks a little bit like Death Note in places.
Yeah. But ultimately, it just doesn't feel very original. So I'm not too excited about this one, sadly.
I mean, I haven't played a lot of hack and slash dungeon crawling dating sims.
That's true.
But I don't know. It's going to have to work to top Boyfriend Dungeon.
Yeah, so. That's true. That's absolutely true. So a minute ago, I hinted at that was the last normal game that we're going to talk about from State of Play. That's because the rest are for PlayStation VR 2. Mm-hmm. This was really kind of the big coming out party for PlayStation VR 2. We got to look at 4 different games that are coming. And maybe that's a hint at when we're actually going to see PlayStation VR 2. First up, we got a huge gameplay trailer for Horizon Call of the Mountain, which looks as if it's going to be, or at least they hope it's going to be, the killer app for the launch of PlayStation VR 2. When I first started watching this, I was like, oh my god, this really is a VR game on rails. But eventually, the trailer, it cracks open and you start to see that it's not. That it
feels like this is the intro.
Yeah.
Like this is how it starts.
This is like you getting into like Jurassic Park, basically. Yeah. This is like your ride in. And then the boat capsizes and the adventure sets off, would be my guess. Mm-hmm. But it is a first-person shooter for VR. It looks amazing, like graphically.
Yeah, it looks very good.
Like, if this is what we're going to get with PlayStation VR 2, hot damn.
Yeah, we'll see what it looks like through your screen door.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the X factor. And obviously for me, like, I'm not buying PlayStation VR 2 at launch. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try it many, many times before I plunk down my cash for it to see if it makes me sick or not.
I just need a library beyond. I mean, this is obviously I'm interested in this. I love Horizon, but like, I don't know, for $550 at this, like,
or whatever it ends up
play
costing.
One game.
But 4K, if they can get it to 120 frames per second, I doubt it. Not this game. I don't see them being able to run this on PS5 at 4K 120
twice.
Yeah, twice. Yeah. There's no way.
Unless there's something in that headset we don't know about.
Right. Which would mean it's really expensive. Mm-hmm. Which would probably put it at about $1,000 would be my guess. If there's extra hardware to pull something like this off.
I mean, no, you're not talking about like more graphic. No, I'm not talking about GPU stuff. I'm talking about like you'd have like basically a doubler in it. Sort of similar to what we're talking about with the stick for the Xbox Cloud thing. Yeah. It would something like that where it can do that doubling the image thing for free somehow.
Gotcha. Well, then maybe
it would still be expensive, but I don't think it wouldn't be like paying for a second GPU in it.
Forbidden West doesn't run at 120, 4K 120.
Almost nothing does.
Right. So probably the best you're going to hope for is 4K 60 with this stuff. And that might even be
I think you're going to be choosing between 4K 60 and 1080p 120 basically.
Yep.
Like, or maybe 2K 120.
That sounds about right. Yep. But this game looks awesome. Hopefully it won't make me barf. Mm-hmm. That's all I can say. And then next, a VR version of Resident Evil Village is on the way for PlayStation VR 2.
Showing the only thing anyone cares about in VR is Lady Demetress.
Yeah.
Everyone just wants to look up at her.
Or look down at her boobs, one or the other. And you'll be able to do both in this game.
You're going to have to get pretty high for that.
Yeah, because she's, like 8 feet tall?
At least.
Seems like. Also, wait, was it Resident Evil 7? That was the PlayStation VR game you can play the whole way through? Yeah. So, Resident Evil and PlayStation VR have a relationship already, and this just seems to be a continuation of that. And Village, I feel like it didn't make the most out of PlayStation 5, so I feel like this could run at a decent frame rate on PlayStation VR 2 and still look really good. Do I play this again? No.
Probably not.
It's really a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and also like this one, like the 7 was sort of built to be, I guess, creepy. You're in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre style house and all that. It was built to be sort of like a haunted house sort of thing. This is just, I feel like it's gonna be more goofy in VR. I mean, it'd be cool to see some of it in VR, but I don't know. Like that's not tempting to me.
They do show like how some of these shots like give you different perspectives from what you got like when you played the game normally.
I didn't like the game enough to do it again.
I want me either. Yeah, I just don't have time. Although right now I do. Yeah. I have all the time in the world to play games twice or finish games right now because there aren't any coming out. But yeah, I mean, people who may not have played Village already, and it sold pretty well, so I don't think there's a lot of people like that out there. But obviously, it's a boon for people like that, if those people still exist. Next up, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners Retribution, which is the next expansion for a game that's already out there. This leads me to believe, Matt, that PlayStation VR 2 is pretty close. Like, I don't think it's coming this year, but I do think that it will be coming early next year because, to me, a big...
Right about the time they start doing Game of the Year editions of these games that came out this year.
Yeah, because the red flag is that this expansion comes to other VR HMDs at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think that they would feature it in this presentation if it was going to come to PlayStation VR 2 a year after it released for all the other HMDs. So I do think that this game in particular hints at what the release date will be for PlayStation VR 2.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be seeing like a Q1 target.
That's my best guess right now. And then finally, the last PlayStation VR 2 game that they showed was No Man's Sky. This is not the trailer for No Man's Sky VR, by the way. This is just a general No Man's Sky trailer. Just want to get that out there.
No Man's Sky continues to do its thing.
It's really crazy. And
now it's coming to Apple platforms and all this stuff, and it just did the Outlaw thing. I mean,
it's crazy.
It does not stop. I'm like, and Sean
really
Murray's even like,
right.
oh, we got way more stuff on the list, like, and it gets weirder. Like they just added space whales. Like it's just what a game.
It's really great.
It's nice that the people that made this turned out to be completely insane.
Yep.
Like it's like we're just gonna keep doing this forever.
Oh, and Andy T. Monahan in chat brings up a good point that I forgot to mention, and that is that the Resident Evil 4 remake is also getting a separate VR mode for PlayStation VR 2. That was announced kind of after everything was over. And I should have brought that up, so thanks for mentioning that, Andy. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, I did play this in PlayStation VR, and I was not super thrilled by it.
What? No Man's Sky?
No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
It's cool, but that's not a way to play for me.
Yeah. What was wrong with it?
I just thought the resolution was too low. I mean, PSVR 2 might solve some of that. Like, I just thought it ran poorly and was like very blurry, and I'd rather see it on a screen where it's nice and crisp.
I mean, PlayStation VR 2 should fix that.
Might.
Yeah.
We'll see. But also, like, there was a sort of a thing of like, it's hard to access things, and I mean, part of it's just. I mean, I played this game for 1,000 hours across PlayStation and PC.
Yeah.
And like selecting through menus and doing various is like basically like muscle memory to me now. So having to relearn how to access things in VR was very difficult. And this thing I ended up deciding I did not get enough out of it to care about. What I want to know is where is the Star Wars X-Wing game?
It's coming, I bet.
Yeah, well, the word is that they are working on a full-fledged version of a full-fledged game from Squadrons, which would be good because I'd like something that plays a little better and doesn't quite feel so much like Battlefront.
Yep.
Because you could tell that was originally a Battlefront DLC.
Oh yeah, for sure. And it'll be all next gen as well. So
yeah, but you make something that doesn't feel like that. You make something that flies like an actual plane. I am in. Because one of the best PSVR 1 things is that Battlefront, that free Battlefront 1.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It was an ad for Rogue One, but that X-Wing thing was great.
Yep. Yeah, so there you go. That's Sony's State of Play. I don't think anyone covered it as in-depth as we just did here on GameFace. Big stuff. What letter grade would you give for that State of Play?
I think I'd give that like a B+.
I think I got to go A- on this one. I think it's one of the best they've ever had.
I'd give it I'd go in the A's if God of War was in there.
Okay.
But I know they might not be ready for that. Maybe I should show it later this month. Who knows? But like,
there's some big hitters in here, man. Callisto Protocol, Final Fantasy 16, Street Fighter 6, RE4 Remake. That's a lot.
It is, but it's also a lot of stuff I'm not playing until next year, so it's not quite not quite there.
I can understand that perspective. Still great. I think no matter how you slice it, that was a pretty awesome State of Play.
I'll say this. It's better than the Microsoft one's going to be.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I feel like you have to have some kind of insider information you're working from here.
No.
Really?
Just experience on this one.
Wow. Set your phasers to disappointment, I guess.
Yeah. Or set your phasers too low and don't be disappointed.
Yeah. But make sure you show up on Sunday, people, for our live stream covering.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what Microsoft is showing. Come to see Shane get disappointed.
They do that every week, Matt.
Yeah.
So anyway, there you go. That's Sony's State of Play for June 2022. Again, what I believe probably would have been PlayStation's E3 2022 press conference if it did one. Minus God
whatever
of War.
They were showing. Yeah, they probably would have God of War and probably
they would have put up some first party stuff.
Yeah, Forspoken's not first party, but
yeah.
Yeah, I think you would have gotten a couple Sony things in there,
but otherwise,
that would have been that.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great show. So kudos to Sony.
We still might get that early in the year. We still might get that E3 area God of War, blowout. I feel like we're due for that. They've always done that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that'll come end of summer. Is my guess. But they'll be running out of time for God of War at that point.
Yeah.
But you show a big blowout of it and release it 6 weeks later. Kaboom! It's going to go kaboom anyway because the first game was so flipping awesome. Okay, it's time to move on. We're going to talk next about the biggest game release of the week. Undoubtedly, and that is Diablo Immortal, a game that has been controversial from its very first moment. It was announced where it was booed.
Don't you guys have phones? Yeah, I have a phone, but I don't want to play anything on it, you dip. We're not upset that we can't play it. We're upset that we'd have to play. Yeah, it's like
from the first moment it was announced, it was like booed.
They instantly did not understand why people were upset. It's like because no one wants to play some weird mobile version of something. They just want to play the game.
Yep. Well, now it's here, and it is free and free to play, but it's not mobile only. It also is playable on PC.
For certain definitions of
playable. Yeah. And I will just say, I played 100% the PC version.
Yeah, I played the PC one.
I did not play the mobile version at all, and maybe that is a failure on my part. I probably should have played the mobile version before I came on here, but I wanted to play as much of the game as I could as possible. And I did play a lot of it. I've probably spent 16 hours with Diablo Immortal at this point. It is not really made for PC.
No, in fact, yeah, it's very janky. I wouldn't be surprised if that PC port was started 6 months ago.
I wouldn't either.
Because it is just the mobile app slapped onto a PC.
It still has tap.
It says tap
everywhere.
Everything on it. And with these giant windows that point to things. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do. Like there's been things where I'm like clicking on. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to click on. And it's like, how weird is it to be playing a Blizzard game whose interface is weird and obtuse like that? Like it's never been a thing. But they were like,
it's like you can tap it on your phone.
There's a thing where it's like tap this to stop following the quest. I'm like, I don't know what you want me to. And finally, I tapped like a different part of the window, and that worked.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of glitchy stuff in it. Like things fall through the world a lot.
If you play it with a controller on PC, you can't play the whole game with a controller.
No, the menus are unnavigable.
Some of the menus, to close them out, you have to use your mouse to do that. You can't.
I gave up. I just switched back to mouse and keyboard.
It makes no sense.
I'm sure they'll get there eventually.
Just let me use B to close a menu. I don't even know if there was 6 months spent on this, Matt.
I don't know. I'm sure they'll get there eventually.
I'm sure.
There's an early access flavor to it, though.
Yeah.
I think it is still technically supposed to be early access.
I guess, yeah, it is. It's like a beta. It's an open beta or whatever right now. Yeah.
Well, it smells it. You can even see here, it's like these are not PC captions. These are things that are supposed to pop up on your phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it looks fine. Like it's basically it's Diablo 3. Like it's like playing Diablo 3 again.
It plays much like Diablo, and I have no problem with that.
No, it's fine.
I really like Diablo 3.
I mean, if you ignore all the microtransaction stuff, and for the most part, if you're just going to play the story, you can. It's like having another Diablo 3 expansion.
Man, I just noticed right there when I first started, there was a tooltip for a controller there that popped up.
Yeah.
They put that in, but the other stuff, they couldn't change or get out. It's so weird. So anyway, Diablo Immortal, as Matt said, is basically Diablo 3 for the most part.
You're a vampire hunter or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you play as?
A necromancer.
Oh, okay.
Always a necromancer if I can be in Diablo.
I always play isometric action RPGs as a ranged character.
Necromancer is ranged.
Oh, okay.
Which
actually,
I didn't.
Yours is better, isn't it? Because it's faster. It shoots faster.
She's faster, and there's skeletons.
You can summon skeletons.
Yeah, I always have two or three skeletons around.
I've played with people who have played with that character, because that's the thing about this game is it's an MMO.
Yeah, and I hate that.
Really?
I don't want Diablo to be that. Like I hate that there's always other people around. And
really?
I'm killing things and somebody runs through and does the and like kills all that shit. I know I still get this stuff for it, but I don't want to feel like I'm part of like a group of like 4,000 people who showed up to help this town. But I
see.
Really
I like being the helper.
That.
I like jumping in.
I hate it.
Well, you would hate me because I jump in and help people. Like if they're having a tough fight or whatever, I will jump in and help them in the fight. I like that.
I hate it. I do. I mean, not in everything, but I do not want that in Diablo. I do not want that in an isometric like action RPG. I want to play that game alone or with specific people. I hate that it plays like an MMO like that.
But as Matt said, there are hundreds of people running around the world.
Tap to select tap.
And they will jump in and help you at times.
Look how huge the buttons are. Like,
I know.
You're clicking buttons on your PC screen that are as big as a chocolate bar. I guess because they have to be big enough for your thumb on a phone. It's so sloppy. It's dumb.
Yeah, well, you can see how big the buttons are in the PC version. You can't miss it, that's for sure.
Nobody needs the visual impairment accessibility options here. They're already there.
Yeah. So
I'm sure that will all get modified.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
In a year, I'm sure it will not look anything like that.
This B-roll will look outdated. My guess is in the not too distant future. Unfortunately, but I'm still going to run it a year from now or whatever. But as we mentioned, it is kind of an MMO. There are other characters all over the world. This is early before they kind of crack the game open and you see everybody else. The beginning of the game, you do play all solo.
The beginning of the game is great because it's just you.
But the more important thing to me,
I thought there'd be hubs, and then you'd be able to go kind of on your own. No, it's just dipshits with 420 in their name.
They're just running around everywhere.
Everybody, they're all over the place.
Now, one thing that I do like though, Matt, is like when you go to do like instant stuff or like some boss fights, you have the ability to just summon a squad. Mm-hmm. And it's very fast. There's so many people playing this that literally within like 5 seconds you have a full squad.
Yeah, there's no shortage of people, that's for sure.
And you're ready to jump in and go fight those instances or fight those boss fights or whatever. And then there are parts of the game where they don't allow you to bring people in. There are solo missions in this where they're designed and you have to fight them on your own. They won't let people in to fight them with you. So I feel like it's a good mix. And the MMO stuff, I feel like it makes it easy to really hook up with parties, and there's no downtime in this.
No, I just don't want that in Diablo. I play Diablo as a solo game.
Okay, I can totally understand that perspective.
And there's one thing, I just wish there was a way out of it. I wish there if you were like hub things, but then when you go do a mission, like you get to choose. Like most games like that, like you get to go choose if you want, or they do instances or something like like Path of Exile or whatever. Like you have an overworld where there's other people running around, but when you get to like a lot of times when you get to these sections with quests in them or like a dungeon or whatever, it's just you and your party.
Yep.
I prefer that a lot.
Okay, I can totally understand that perspective. It did not bother me at all. In fact, I kind of liked having people around.
Well, especially because that's not what Diablo should be like. Metroid. I mean, Diablo should be lonely. Diablo should be you and maybe your 3 companions or whatever, like against the world. Like there should be the idea that there's thousands of people just here like whacking demons the whole time. Like it's fucking stupid.
It's a little weird, yeah.
Like thematically, it's dumb. Like it doesn't work with the world of Diablo.
I think generally that is the crux of this game in general. Is it a good game or is it a good Diablo game? Because I have spent 16 some hours playing this. I really like it, and I'm having a lot of fun with it.
I mean, I think it feels like Diablo for the most part. I mean, it's
and I haven't spent a dime on it.
You could put this in front of me and let me play it and not tell me what it was, and I would know it's Diablo.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely they made Diablo.
Yeah.
Before they slapped all the microtransaction crap on it,
which we'll get to.
But what's there when you're just moment to moment playing it is absolutely as good as Diablo 3. I would say.
I'm really enjoying this, and I have not spent a penny to play it. But at the same time, I agree with you. It's not a great Diablo game. Mm-hmm. Because what some people may not realize who don't play Diablo is that playing through the campaign is easy. It always is easy. And it's really easy in this too. Like, I think once I figured the game out, I don't think I've died, honestly.
You almost got to try.
You have to try to die. You have to do something intentionally stupid to die.
Like maybe if it's like Diablo 3. Like there were maybe 3 places in Diablo 3's the normal difficulty campaign where you could probably get yourself killed.
Right.
And that's really if you're like a wizard, a squishy class.
Right. Yep. Someone who could take a lot of damage. So you never die in this. It's very easy to walk through it. But Diablo is not about that first run. It's about the post game and going back and playing it on the higher difficulties, and that's where this game
gets you.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So going on like YouTube and seeing all the YouTuber reviews, like all the thumbnails are the people like doing the face palm or screaming or just generally looking like their entire life has been destroyed. Meanwhile, I'm actually having a really good time playing the game, but from their perspective, they finished the game. They're now trying to go to the higher level content, and that is where the microtransactions come in.
Like you basically hit like kind of a soft cap around 30, and then you hit a hard cap around 50. And like if you're at 50,
I'm way over level 30.
If you're at 50, you are no longer progressing in terms of your character's power level unless you are spending money.
Yeah.
Or grinding. The estimation was like if you don't spend any money, you can max a character out in 10 years.
And
10 years.
And a news report said if you paid to max your character out, it would cost over $100,000. But you think it's more than that, right?
Well, the guys, I can't remember the name of the YouTube channel that they were quoting for that, but that wasn't they're kind of like if you get lucky estimate, essentially, like their average estimate. Like they did a follow up video where they basically said like, yeah, that was. In the end, like that was kind of optimistic because like they were basically using also calculations, I think, just on the base of how often they drop 5-star legendary gems, and the problem is that if you need to upgrade certain things, you need certain because not all 5-star legendary gems are really 5-star legendary. You know, like it's that thing. So there's a bunch of different 5-star things you need to. So like with that more in mind, they were like it's probably closer to $250,000.
Oh my god!
Just pay.
That is insane.
Because you go on the I can't remember the name of the proper name. It's like Rift Dungeons, basically, you know, like in 3. But like when you go in, you can use these shards, legendary shards, I think, to basically up the chances of them dropping the boss dropping legendary gear. And if you don't use them, you basically don't get any. Like they playing through 2 different. Okay, here's where I do it with a legendary gear, and I kill the boss, and this giant chest appears, and I open the chest, and all these like yellow things pop up. And I'm gonna go through without putting any pay to play stuff in it. And you go through, and there's not even a chest that pops up.
Wow!
Like you don't get anything. Like and it's just like it's like 2 rarities down almost is the gear you get. So you're talking about. And there's only a certain number of these you can do in a day. There's a lot of stuff where like you do a certain number of runs of this, and once you do that many, that's all you can do in a day. And if you do more, you don't get anything for it, and you will never get anything for it. And the game doesn't tell you that until you do it, and you're like, oh, that was pointless.
The whole thing is insanely complicated.
It's very complicated, but it's by design. You know, it's also by design that early on, the only microtransaction stuff you really see is cosmetic stuff.
I've never seen any. Like, I've played the game for well over 16 hours. I have not been prompted to spend a penny.
I mean, they hit you hard at the end of the first dungeon once you kill the first boss.
I don't remember that.
They pop up. Click this. Here's the thing. Here's the store. Here's the thing.
I just click the claim buttons.
Yeah.
That's it. And then I X out the screen and I keep going.
But they have little like marker things to go make you look at all the things and stuff.
It didn't work on me.
And I did that. I did that just to get the markers off there. But like, there's a lot in there, and like
it's crazy.
And it's weird because
it's like what the hell
they're
is
like
all
here's
this?
60 of these 60 of the eternal orbs for them. Like you can't buy anything with 60.
Yeah,
like, literally nothing costs 60. There's like it's just like the first one's free, kid. Like
it's not free.
It's an extremely predatory system, even by the standards of these systems. And the more, and then like, people are like, oh, but it's still fun to play, and it's Diablo, and it's like they made a really good game under, and just slapped on. So it's like, but like that kind of makes it worse because the whole reason they made a really good game is because they knew they had to have a really good game to trick you into getting sucked into this thing.
Bait and switch. Yeah, they bait you in.
Yeah, and to be clear,
and then
like,
they switch.
I haven't spent any money on this either. Like this stuff doesn't work on me. I'm not a gambling person in the first place. I'm certainly not someone who wants to throw away money on like weird things to get loot box stuff. It's telling that this game has not been able to be released in Belgium yet.
No, because
Belgium's gambling laws like basically make this game illegal there. It's gross. It's gross.
Here's my point. I've had a hell of a good time playing this, and I've played it for almost 20 hours. I haven't spent a penny on it. Like, that's pretty good. Now, I get that Diablo fans are like, screw this. Like, once I get to the part that I really want to play, like, it gets dirty. And they're right, and I understand that. But you can play this game for free for a long time, and it's fun. And then if you're smart, like you and I, you just quit. So the first time I get to that point that you're talking about, where I'm going to have to spend money to advance, I will just turn the game off and never play it again.
But to someone who's a big Diablo fan, that's like saying, like, well, just play the arcade mode of Street Fighter, and then, like, when it comes time to pay the microtransactions to play the online stuff...
Oh, I get it, man.
Like, you just stop playing. But I was like, that's not why I play the game.
I get it, yeah.
And it's like...
But I'm just saying, for some people, that's plenty good enough. 16 hours of an isometric action RPG. Look, you can go back. You can play that 20 hours or whatever. As a character, go back, start over, play as another character through that same campaign... Like,
it's still not something that really I would want to support, even playing for free.
It's the morality part of it is the problem for you. Yeah, you don't want to
It's a predatory system. I don't want to encourage it. I don't want other games I like to end up with this crap in it. Mm-hmm. Not even the sense because it ruins anything for me, because I probably wouldn't play much further than just playing through the main story one time. Yeah. That's what I played most other games like that.
You're just looking out for the fans.
I still haven't fucking finished Titan Quest. Yeah. That game's too goddamn long.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not an end game I'm not someone who grinds in general.
Yeah, me either.
You know?
Yeah.
But like, it's gross. It's.
I agree. I still had a really good time playing it.
Like, why can't you make it so it only costs like $1,000 to max the character out? Like, why can't it be a little friendlier than that? Especially because like you've seen people play Diablo for years. People still play Diablo 3 over and over and over in the ladder systems. Like, there's no retention problem with this kind of game, especially Diablo. So why don't you make it a little less gougy? Why don't you make it like, okay, spend a couple $100 and you'll get your character where you need to go, and you can do it again. Like, people would do that. You know, like, what if the price for like getting a character to max level was more like the cost of a full price game?
That's what it should be.
Yeah.
It should cost that way you're $60 or $70.
That way it's sort of like, okay, like in a way I kind of bought the game in response for them giving me a good time, and because I wanted to max it out, so I thought it was worth paying a full price for.
Yeah.
That would be a little more easier to swallow for me.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I feel like I was getting one over on Blizzard because I played this for a long time and never gave them a penny. And I had a good time doing it. But I do understand.
Yeah. I mean, if that's all you want out of it, sure.
I mean, so there are a lot of people who are maybe, I think I saw AJ the Legend Watson asking a minute ago, like, if this is, let me find this question actually. Do you believe this will attract casual players who are not familiar with the Diablo franchise? I do not know if it will attract them, but I do know that this is a great game for them to play. Like, as far as like, I've never played Diablo before. Is there a game I can check out to see if I like it? Yeah, like, because you can play this for 20 hours for free. If you figure out, wow, I really like Diablo, then you can go buy Diablo 3. And then when Diablo 4 comes out, you know that you're going to want Diablo 4. So I do think it serves a little bit of a purpose. At the same time, I completely understand where you're coming from. I completely understand where the hardcore fans of Diablo are coming from. This game is definitely not for them at all. So to AJ's question, I would answer with, this game is really only for people who are curious about Diablo and wonder if they may like it or not. And anyone else who's a huge fan of it, I would stay away. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to get to the point of the game where you actually care about, and that's where the game gets really crappy.
See, and I hate, like, I can't tell what the hell's happening here. There's all these rando other players here and all this. I can't, like, control the flow of the battle. Like,
I'm just dodging the bullet hell stuff.
I hate it.
I really like the time that I spent with it. I had a lot of fun. I do generally like isometric action RPGs.
So do I. I mean, I like how it plays. I like the way it looks. I like how my character works. I don't like the MMO aspect, and I don't like the predatory nature of the end game.
I would add too,
the predatory nature of the end game will never impact me. I'm never going to play that. But like,
I would add too that like the amount of time that I played this game is typically about as much as I want to play one of these games.
Yeah,
that's
accurate.
It's like I get burned out on these pretty quick.
Also, I just wish it played better.
Yeah.
Like I prefer at this point, I prefer to play Diablo 3 with a controller.
I played this with a controller.
I tried, and then I gave up.
The only problem I had was with getting out of menus. I'd have to use the mouse.
I had problems like aiming some of my. I think it looks like your character works with the controller a little better than the Necromancer does. So the Necromancer has more zone stuff.
Gotcha.
And I had a lot of trouble like aiming it in the right direction while I was trying to move the right direction. Whereas like it looks like you mostly point and shoot.
You don't even really have to point that much. Almost everything auto targets.
Yeah. That's kind of annoying too.
Like your normal fire always auto targets. Like,
there is a baby's first Diablo to it a little bit.
That was one of my point. Yeah. This is a good game to see if it's for you really, and you could do it for free.
Like it really just sort of makes me want to play Diablo 3 again.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I could totally see that perspective. But it's like if you look around, like a lot of the reviews, I don't think are accurately depicting the game for people who are not hardcore Diablo fans. I think most of the reviews that you're seeing are for people who already really love Diablo and want to play it for weeks or months. Or years.
I would mostly say like you're still gonna have to wait for 4.
Yeah,
this is not a sequel to Diablo 3.
No.
This is not the new Diablo. This is some weird.
And this is actually set between 2 and 3.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah. Because they talk about the stuff with Bale and Deckard Cain's still alive. So
yeah. Heath Demon says, I refuse to touch this given how pay to win it's revealed to be. I mean, if you want to take a moral stand, I can understand that. But it's fun, man, for like 20 hours before you get to all that stuff. So I struggle to just tell people not to play this game or not to try this game. It also
depends like how well you do with like kind of the predatory, microtransaction practices. It's like, that's a real problem for some people, and it's like, well, okay, it's like, yeah, this drink is great, but I'm not going to recommend it to an alcoholic. Like you gotta, it's a good analogy. If that's a thing you struggle with, you should not touch this game because it's very, very, very good at that. Like
it's immoral, just insidious. Like the lower third says. I mean, it is. That's all there is to it. It's shady.
And I don't have a problem with that. I don't. Even MMOs in general just don't get their hooks in me in that regard. I don't get stuck on things like that.
Me either.
But like, I can see. I look at it, and I am fairly marketing and media savvy, and I look at the way this thing pushes stuff, and it's just like, oh yeah, like I get it. And that's the trick is like it's one thing to walk away from a game that's doing that to you when it's a bad game, when it's like one of those stupid mobile games or some Clash of Clans clone where you're just like, yeah, click this, wait 14 hours. It's like that's but this is really good. Like,
and it plays like a normal game.
Yeah, it plays like a normal Diablo game. It plays like a fun game. Like,
and then eventually it gets to the bad part.
And there's definitely an element. I can definitely see people getting to some of this and being like, oh, I want to keep having fun. I want to keep progressing. I want the progress.
And then it gets dodgy.
Because the progression early on is very satisfying. Like
it's very fast.
Yeah, it happens. You're like level 13 by the time you get out of the tutorial zone.
There's like too much gear. Like there is like you're constantly getting like new gear that's redundant that you don't need.
And it's so fast. I knew that's when I saw the curve where I'm just like, oh, okay. So like first dungeon out of the tutorial dungeon, you're like, okay, here's this thing. How should I upgrade this armor twice? Now look at that. Now the armor is blue. It's like, okay, you're getting up there real fast. The curve on that, you're trying to drive me to something here.
Yeah, you're adding new skills very quickly too.
Yeah, you're driving me to the point where it's like you want me to be like, oh, you want to keep progressing? Hand it over, buddy. Yeah.
And again, like to your point earlier, like I wouldn't mind if it like you max out at $60. Like if at the end of it all you end up paying for a game, like that's fair. But man,
or like a battle, more of a battle pass sort of thing, where like
even though they have one,
they do. But like if you subscribe to that battle pass and it gives you access to like whatever the events or the dungeons you're gonna need that's high enough level to level you up beyond where you like that would be another thing. Yeah. But no, you're literally paying for gems that let you get the random drops you maybe get the random drops you need to upgrade. Yeah, as soon as I saw the blacksmith upgrade system, I'm like, oh, here's where it is.
Here's where the rubber hits the road. Yeah.
All the merchants can upgrade stuff, and you need special materials to upgrade them all. I'm like, that's where it is.
That's where it is. That's where they get you. Jam Rain asks, is there a full story you can complete before the microtransactions happen? Yeah, pretty much. You can finish pretty much the whole campaign.
You can get through the like normal difficulty story without paying anything.
Yeah. Any other questions you guys have? First time chat from Toon Medic. Thank you for the hard work and the great content you guys bring each week. Thank you, Toon Medic, and welcome to the live stream for GameFace. I hope you'll be back next Tuesday. Erebus Jones, my money is on them gouging the whales at the outset before they tone it back. That could be, but you've already set this awful precedent that, I mean, obviously, if you look around, like, again, go to YouTube and just search for Diablo Immortal reviews, and it will just be a whole page full of thumbnails of people doing face palms. Mm-hmm. Like, so if that was the plan to basically soak the whales at launch, it's backfiring because everyone is telling other people to not play it at all. Cinetyke, any story to this game? Yeah, the whole thing is a story. There's also characters from like Heroes of the Storm. I saw some characters from Heroes of the Storm show up in this.
Yeah, it's
kind of like an all-star cast.
Oh, yeah, like the Necromancer from 2 shows up. Yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff, and there's a narrative there for sure.
Yep.
It's just once the narrative ends, the casino begins.
Yep, absolutely. Vincent asks, why can't you just play Path of Exile instead, an actual ethical free-to-play Diablo-like? You can. Yeah, no one's saying you can't.
I would say Path of Exile does not scratch the same like kind of bombastic, colorful, explosive. Diablo 3 and this have a certain feel to them in terms of the size and of the how powerful you feel and all that. And Path of Exile doesn't really. Path of Exile has a lot more Diablo 2 in it.
That's a good way to put it, I think. Yeah.
So I can see why someone would not find Path of Exile to scratch the same itch.
Yeah.
But I do think Path of Exile is definitely the more morally competent game.
Yeah. It's a decent analog.
Or Titan Quest. Like Titan Quest is an amazing point and click action RPG. And if you get all the expansions, it's like a 50-hour game. Which I have never finished because like the original game's long enough, and then there's a whole expansion, and then there was the Viking expansion, and now there's another expansion. It just goes on and on and on, and so every skill tree combination is a different class you can make. Like go get, and it's like $15 about every 5 months. Like go get Titan Quest, if you don't already have it. That game still holds up.
Yep. But I guess I would say in closing that unless you have huge moral objections to something like this, like play it. It's free. It's not big. It's not going to take up a lot of space on your hard drive. It's free on both PC and
I didn't even like reinstalling Battle.net, if I'm honest.
Oh, really? I already had it installed. I do wish, though, that Battle.net worked with my Steam Link because I wanted to play this on the couch in my living room, and it doesn't. Like, it only works with Steam, unfortunately. So that's kind of a disappointment, But I had fun with it. I played it for almost 20 hours, and I didn't spend a penny, and I had fun. I do totally understand the whole side of the coin with the hardcore Diablo players. I totally get why they would not want to play it and why they would try to convince other people to not play it because they don't want to encourage Blizzard to continue doing this type of thing. I do not think that that's going to happen. I think Diablo 4 is going to be just a normal Diablo where you pay your $60 or $70 and you play it. Like, I don't think there's a huge chance of this affecting.
I think once they're fully acquired by Microsoft's going to be like, okay, easy, boys.
I mean, it may be like easy anyway. Yeah. Like in the next week, maybe making some phone calls.
Yeah, Microsoft doesn't seem to really roll this way. Yeah. So I feel like maybe they're going to be like, okay, you need to pull
You might
that
see
back
some changes in this game pretty fast. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of classic Diablo style now. It's like we're going to launch this thing that's has horrifying things in it, like the auction house in Diablo 3. Things that, like, the auction house of Diablo 3 was sort of a similar thing where it's like, the gardener could have told you this was a bad idea. Yeah. Like, did you run this by anybody? And, like, and this one is just, like, 6 figures to max a character out?
That's insane, dude.
Are you out of your mind?
Like,
it's like so, yeah, you got to scale that back. You got to change everything there.
Yep. To your point, I think if they had been under the Microsoft umbrella, this wouldn't have launched this way at all. But Microsoft only has tertiary say in what Blizzard is doing right now.
Vincent makes a point that Microsoft also purchased King as part of that deal, so clearly they're not.
They're not too adverse against
again,
shady monetization.
And the guys who did the video about how much it costs pointed this out. I don't care about King's games. Nobody does. Like the people who play those, it's just I'm sure he does, but he doesn't. I mean, he's not like passionate about it in the sense that like this is part of the art of the medium. It's just a thing he likes to play, right? Whereas like Diablo's different for most people. Like for the hardcore gaming, this is a game we've been playing for 25 years. Like
it's different
to have it fall into that thing is like, well, that's not a thing we're used to having, and like we're used to paying a fee and. I would gladly pay $60 for another Diablo game that gave me all the content of another Diablo game, which is, I assume, what Diablo 4 will be. But, it doesn't help that, like, everybody was upset about Diablo Immortal when it was announced, and they were all like, it's going to be like this, and then it turned out to be not just that, but worse.
Yeah. That is funny.
Like the one thing
the flags were there, the red flags.
The one thing they listened to was like, is it only going to be on mobile? We'd like to play it on PC. So like, okay, sure.
We'll listen to that part.
We'll steal money from PC players too. That's fine.
Exactly. They're like, oh, we can open up another revenue
Tap to
stream.
continue, you little shit. Go on. Tap it.
Yep. So anyway, there you go. That's Diablo Immortal. It's free on both iOS, Android, and PC. I don't know. I think we've pretty much explained at this point whether people should play it or not. I think a lot of it depends on your perspective on Diablo and your perspective on free-to-play games and what can be the scummy monetization thereof. Let's move on. We're going to talk next about a game I also played this week, although they make it about as big a pain in the butt as you can. It is Mario Strikers Battle League for Switch. It had an open beta this weekend, and Matt, Nintendo, for whatever reason lately, has started doing these open betas where they're on very specific schedules. They did this with Nintendo Switch Sports, where everybody can download it and can be a part of it, but you have to show up at this exact time, and it lasts for an hour, and then it happens again 6 hours later. Instead of just leaving the thing up over the weekend and letting people play, it's like you can play from noon to 1 p.m. And then you can play, oddly enough, it was 4 to 5 a.m. Pacific was one of the other times. But I did find some time, and basically I did what I'm supposed to do. I did the crappy part of this for you guys, so you didn't have to do it. So I followed along, and I went and I played as much as I could of Mario Strikers Battle League. It is an arcade-style soccer game. It is, I believe, the third installment of the franchise on Nintendo consoles. The first one was a GameCube game. The second one was for Wii, and there's been a huge gap before we get this one for Switch. It is a very good-looking game, what I would say first of all. Like, it is, the animation, the color, everything about this game does not look like it's a Switch game. This is also one of those games where you play it on a big TV and it doesn't suffer, which is rare for Switch. A lot of times you play Switch games on a big TV and they don't look quite as good as they do in their handheld forms. But this game holds up even on a gigantic OLED TV, which is what I played it on. Soccer is 4-on-4. As far as the gameplay is concerned, obviously it's not a soccer sim, and there are tons of liberties that they take with the sport. There are tackles and dodges. There are things called combo play, which is like a give and go.
And apparently hand slaps?
Yes. Yep. There are items, just like Mario Kart. Like you get green shells and red shells that you can use and send across the play surface. There are bananas that you can throw down, just like Mario Kart. There are stars that you can get that make you invincible. So there's a whole selection of those. There's a mechanic called Hyper Strikes, where these orbs show up on the pitch. You have to collect the orb before you execute it, and then you go to wherever you want to actually deliver the kick, and you have to hold the button, and there's a long delay before you can actually perform the Hyper Strike. Then there are things called perfect moves, and that's just basically getting the timing exactly right on passes or tackles. And then there's a mechanic called team tackles, which end up to me being probably the most powerful move in the game. Basically, you can just check one of your players, and then they fly into the opponents, and they fly like halfway across the court. So if you line up the other team just right, you can take out like 3 or 4 of the other team with one team tackle. So there's all these, and some of the stuff like the combo play, the give and goes, that's stuff that you find in FIFA. Now they've renamed it here and made it, given it a catchier name, but a lot of the stuff that you'll see in this game, you will see in some of the soccer simulations. When you start off, you choose your kit, which is basically the uniforms for your squad, and then you pick a stadium. There were 5 stadiums in the beta. The stadiums themselves don't really make much of a difference between each match. They're all standardized sizes. The edge of the pitch is electrified, so if you get knocked into it, you get shocked and you get delayed, so you have to kind of watch that. Characters are rated in a number of categories. They're rated in strength, which is basically tackling, how strong they can tackle, speed, shooting, passing, and technique. And technique is an all-encompassing category that includes shot accuracy, curve, dribbling, and a hyper strike, and the hyper strike. As you play through the game, you earn coins, and you can use those coins to buy gear for the head, the arms, the body, and the legs. The gear gives, but it also takes away. So, like, you may get a piece of gear that increases your strength, but that means that it will deduct from somewhere else. So there's really no way to use the gear system in this to create OP characters. It's just more of a way to create the exact characters that you want to play as. Once things get going, it's just total mayhem, Matt. It is so hard to follow what is going on. Like, I really struggled in this game to figure out where the ball was most of the time. Like, once I got down near the goal and we were attacking, a lot of times it became so insane that I would just spam the shoot button and just hope that the ball came to my character and they would just immediately shoot it. It became very difficult to follow, like, where the ball was going, especially when people started getting items and you had shells like flying all over the screen, and then you stumble across a banana, and then someone goes to do like a hyper strike. I have a feeling that as I play it more, that will become more natural and I'll become better at that. But I played this for a couple hours, and even at the end of those play sessions, I still struggled a lot of the times to figure out where the ball was or where it was going.
So small.
Yeah.
Compared to like what that trailer shows.
Well, yeah, because they do the close-up camera angles on all the replays and things like that. But At the same time, I will say I had a lot of fun playing this game, and even in the short time I played it, it did feel like it was a reliable game of soccer, meaning it wasn't like you could just abuse one technique and just score every time. Like, even like the hyper strikes.
It's weird to see Luigi get to be happy without getting hit by something.
Even those crazy, like, over-the-top cinematic strikes that you've been seeing in the footage, even those aren't 100%. Like,
yeah, it looked like, it reminds me of Super Dodgeball.
A little bit.
Like, there's always a counter, even no matter how weird and overpowered the attack looks.
Yeah. Yep. And like, even if you do one of those hyper strikes, and your goalie sometimes will still save it, and then this kind of mini game pops up where there's like arrows, and you have to like basically spam the button and like build up this meter to reject the shot as your goalie is slowly getting pushed backwards into the goal. So there's no just like end all be all shot that's like always going to score. At least not that I've discovered so far anyway. The roster of characters, so far there were 10 in the beta. It included Mario, Luigi, Bowser, Peach, Rosalina, Toad, Yoshi, Donkey Kong, Wario, and Waluigi. I have no doubt that there will be more characters in the final game. Also, the only mode that you could play in this beta, you could play the tutorial, which taught you the ropes of how to play the game, and you could just play 4-on-4 online, and that was it. So I didn't get to experience a lot of the other modes, and I'll be honest with you, Matt, that is one of my big concerns with this game, because most of the Nintendo sports games for Switch so far play okay, but they have no content.
There's nothing to do, yeah.
Yeah, so either you enjoy playing competitively, which I do, but for a lot of people who don't, there hasn't been a lot to fiddle around with in the Nintendo sports games.
Yeah, there's going to be another Mario Tennis situation.
Right. Or the Mario Golf game that just came out, same deal. It was bereft of modes. And I don't know how this is going to play out. I'm just letting you know what is in the build that they shared with everybody for the open beta, and all it had was just online play, 4-on-4. I had a good time with it. Good enough time to spend $60 or whatever it ends up costing. There's a mechanic I was talking about, by the way, where you can reject the ball if you build up the meter. Enough to spend $60 on it? What I've played so far? No way. Like, there needs to be a lot more modes, and that remains to be seen exactly what ends up being in the final game. But I'll say this, it's a fun and clean playing game of soccer. I do hope, too, that you eventually have the ability to turn some stuff on and off, because the items I thought was like overkill. It just became too much. When there's like red shells and green shells flying all over the place, and you're trying to like, because the actual soccer playing is pretty deep. Like, you can preload your shots and your passes. So once you pass to a character, while the ball is still on the way there, and this is in FIFA and all their soccer sims, but you may not expect to see it here. You can preload your pass or your shot before the ball even gets to that character. So you can do those give and goes, or you can do those one-timers, things like that. There is plenty of depth in this game if you just want to play kind of a straight game of soccer. It still is always going to be arcade style, obviously. You're playing with characters from the Mushroom Kingdom. But I hope that they give you the option to turn stuff on and off. I feel like the items are overkill. They're a little bit too much. But I do think they should have them there for people who want it. So there's still a lot that remains to be seen. The game does come out here in like the next week. So we're going to find out all this stuff very soon. And we will have a full report on this when we have the final version in our hands. But so far, I'd say I was pretty impressed with it. Every team I played against had Waluigi. I think he may be like one of the most popular characters in the Mushroom Kingdom now.
He's up there. I mean, partly because they rarely use him for anything.
Yeah.
So he's sort of like, you know, Waluigi is one of those things that it's sort of like the Morbius thing. Like, he became a meme.
Right.
And then he kind of got memed into in a reality, and then he kind of get memed into popularity. Yeah. And now you can't tell who's serious and who isn't.
I like him. I always put him on my team. You can see he was on my team in this match. So I did have a good bit of fun with the game. I'll say that. But I do question its long-term prospects and its longevity. A lot of that will depend on what ends up being in the final version.
Definitely needs more characters, I would say.
Yeah, 10.
I mean, if you're using 8, you're using 4/5 of the roster in every game.
In each match, yeah.
So,
and my guess is there will be a lot more characters.
Yeah, I would think you need double that.
Yep. And like I said, the pitch doesn't really matter because they're all standardized, they're all the same size, and they all have the same hazards. They only really matter when they show the replays of like the crazy like hyper strikes, because then you can actually see the arena.
Just carrying the ball in his hand like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Wario,
yeah. It takes liberties with the game of soccer for sure. But again, like underneath all of the hijinks, there is a solid playing game of soccer there. So again, I hope that they allow people to kind of set up the games and the matches the way they want to.
Good enough for Maradona, good enough for
Waluigi.
For Wario, I guess.
But anyway, I just want to give you guys a quick update on that because I did spend some time playing it over the weekend during the open beta. And I know some of you guys may be wondering if you should pick it up. And we're not going to be able to do another GameFace, I think, before the game actually comes out. So I just wanted to get a report into episode 303 so you guys kind of know where the game is coming from before you have to decide to pull the trigger for yourselves. And that's it. Let me see if anyone has any questions. Vincent says, no, it's launching with just 10 characters. Wow. That's surprising. Kevin Rafa asked, would you rather play this or Mario Tennis? I think that depends on whether you like tennis or soccer more, honestly. Because they're both kind of similar as far as how realistic they are versus how arcadey they are. Mm-hmm. So I think it really just comes down to which sport do you like more. Although, I would say Mario Tennis, I believe, launched with more characters than 10. If I remember correctly. Yeah. So, yep, it's football. Well, I wouldn't say it's football. It's definitely its own brand of football, to say the least. But I do think people who just like football, I don't think that they'll be completely turned off by it.
I mean, I think they're having a soccer versus football
debate. The soccer versus football debate. Gotcha.
Soccer is a British term. Like, we didn't make it up.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It was the original name, or an older name. And it became,
then football?
Yeah, in English.
Interesting.
But it became football, like, pretty much everywhere but here.
Wow.
I mean, there are other languages that never called it soccer as an English thing. Yeah. But soccer is not an American invention as a term.
Wow. I had thought that was the case.
Nope.
Interesting. I think people always blame us.
It's what caught on here, and then it really what happened is it got big everywhere else in the world and not here.
Yeah.
So we never kind of adapted with the rest of the world to call it football.
Okay.
That's all.
All right.
And then for whatever reason, we called the other game football.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Which is like, really, you hardly use your feet at all in what we call football. That's the ironic part.
Yeah, Dutch makes it. We take a lot of Dutch and German and English.
Yeah, Robolis9 says it's soccer in Dutch. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's not just America. But Sneaky brings up a good point. You use your feet. And in football, you're actually carrying the ball.
Yeah, well, it's like and it's not like, football is older.
Yeah. I wonder why they did end up calling it football here. Like American football.
American football?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's weird.
It's a good question. Like, you don't... I assume because it was more or less a version of rugby. So maybe there was more kicking then? I don't know. I'm not too familiar with early American football gameplay.
Yeah.
It's probably just one of those things where Americans name a thing and don't think about it for another 100 years.
well, when a football originally launched, there was hardly any passing. It was just all running the ball. Mm-hmm. Like, passing, honestly, is a thing that kind of came along like in the 60s and 70s, where it became a prominent part of the game, and it just has grown exponentially ever since. And now the NFL is almost all passing because they've changed the rules to engender that. Basically, they want it to be a lot of passing, a lot of offense. So they've made it really tough on the defense to defend, and now everyone just throws the ball all game long. So. Mm-hmm. Okay, there you go. A little history lesson on soccer and football. You learned something in every episode of GameFace. Let's move on. We're going to talk next about what I believe may be the last ever micro console, Matt. Sega announced this week the Sega Genesis Mini 2, the second edition of the Sega Genesis micro console. And I'm really wondering if we need this.
Oh, we need it.
You think we need it?
Got Sega CD games.
It does.
We need it.
That's the big thing, is that it does have Sega CD games.
If it was just a bunch of more cartridge stuff, yeah, I'd be like, nah. But Sega CD stuff, bring it.
Because
bring it.
Most people never had a Sega CD.
Yeah.
A lot of these games...
And most Sega CDs don't work anymore.
Right.
So,
yeah, they've died.
Sega CD is actually, I mean, they're not hard, but it's more complicated getting CD games to work in emulators. Mm-hmm. So, because you got to deal with the BIOSes and stuff like that. But I absolutely bring this on, especially because we don't know everything is coming yet. They said there's going to be more. They're announcing in terms of titles. But if we were able to get the Sega CD version of Snatcher out of this thing,
yeah, that
would be great.
They said there's going to be 50 games. So
Dark Wizard. How about the Terminator? I mean, that's probably a licensing nightmare, but that had really good music.
So far, they've announced Bonanza Bros, Fantasy Zone, Magical Tururoto. I never even heard of that game. Shining in the Darkness, Thunder Force 4, Virtua Racing, Mansion of the Hidden Souls, Pop Full Mail, Shining Force CD, Sylphid, and Sonic CD. Sonic CD is great.
Yeah, Sonic CD's on a bunch of other collections, though.
Yeah.
It's not quite as interesting. I like Pop Full Mail is a good inclusion. Thunder Force is good. I would love to see them bring in Lunar.
Yeah.
The Lunar games, the original Lunar translations from working. I don't know what
there's still 40 left.
Yeah,
so
there's a lot left.
They only basically supplied 10 so far, so there's a lot more to go.
And if you're gonna half and half them, 25 Sega CD games is more than the number of Sega CD games that are worth playing.
That's true.
So, I assume we would get Eternal Champions.
Yep.
The
I love
Sega
that
version
game,
of
by the
that,
way.
which was good.
Yep.
I would love to see them do Dark Wizard, which was a Shining Force style.
I have never played it.
I baited. I play tested that for
really?
because Sega was in in the town I grew up in near the town I go, and they made a call out for play testers, and we went. That was the game they gave us to play test, so we did that for a few days.
Crazy.
They didn't change anything based on any of our feedback, but we did do play testing and focus testing for it.
Yeah.
But it's a fun turn-based strategy mythical game where you it's like kingdoms and fighting, but you can also have monsters.
Okay.
I would love to see Revenge of Shinobi finally show up.
Yeah. There's still some stuff left. That's for sure. The details are that it doesn't look like the first mini. The design replicates the second generation of the Genesis that was introduced in 1993. It includes an HDMI port. It displays at 720p and has linear PCM audio. It uses a USB for power. While the first one came with 2 wired controllers, this one only comes with 1. It comes with a single 6-button Fighting Pad 6B.
I mean, that's better because the other one came with a 3-button.
Right. That's right. I forgot about that. That's right. That's so bad.
Apparently, you're only getting 6 buttons one way or the other.
Well, Matt, if you do own the original Mega Drive Mini, the previous controllers work with this new one.
But they're useless because they're 3 buttons.
Yeah. Yep. As I said,
I think you can use other controllers with it, if I remember right.
You can. Yep. As I said, there will be 50 total games when it's all said and done.
You turn this into the definitive Sega CD collection, sold.
Yeah.
Done. No question.
There's also a Megadora Tower Mini 2-inch decoration kit that replicates the look of the Mega Drive Mini 2 and the second-gen Mega CD. You even get a dummy Virtua Racing cartridge and Sonic CD to finish the whole aesthetic.
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm not that into it.
How much is this retailing for? I think it's $80 or something like that.
That sounds about right.
It's expensive, I thought.
Yeah, I think it is a little more than you expect for a micro console these days.
It's $85.
Yeah.
It's $85 in USD. They haven't even announced it for the West yet, though.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much stuff makes the jump.
Right.
Yep.
The extra controller will cost $25 if you want one, which is kind of steep for an ancient technology.
There's not a lot you would need that for. You'd need it for if they do Eternal Champions.
Yeah.
You'd want to be able to play with multiple people, but.
Yep, and so that's the details on it. Matt, are you going to import it, or are you going to wait and see if it comes to the U.S.?
I'll see what they announce.
Yeah.
But obviously, I'd rather have it in English.
Yeah.
But if they only put certain things on, one or the other, I might double dip or something if I have to. Sega.
There might be 3 games that's on the Japanese one.
I'm a giant sucker for Sega, but I'd probably. The stuff I'd be interested in would be more like the Shining Force and the Dark Wizard and Lunar, which is that doesn't do me any good in Japanese.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's tough. And then obviously now that this was announced, a lot of people are like, "Hey, where are Dreamcast and Saturn micro consoles? Are they feasible?" And Sega is basically saying, "No, they're not feasible." The guy who produces this stuff, Yosuke Ukinari, told Famitsu that while it explored the possibility for both, producing parts turned out to be expensive because right now parts for anything is expensive. And then his quote is, "The development of new boards has been stagnant due to the coronavirus, and of course, it would be a fairly expensive product in terms of cost." So
yeah, the problem is
happening.
I think you can do it. Saturn emulation is pretty solid now.
Is it?
Yeah. I have an emulator on my PC downstairs. I just put a Sega Saturn disc in and play. And
you can put the disc in and it plays off a disc.
You can do both.
Wow.
A lot of them, like I have a PlayStation 2 emulator that does the same thing. Like it's just you put the disc. I mean, you do ROMs as well, but I just put the disc in and play.
Wow.
Which is a lot easier
than pulling out your old PS2.
Yeah. And so yeah, you can do it. I think the problem is he's right. It would be expensive to make that board. It would be expensive to dig all the stuff up. It would be expensive to like get everything back together and make everything work properly. And then how many people are going to buy a Saturn?
Right.
I mean, I would pay a lot of money for that. Like you put out a micro Saturn that has like Dragon Force and Iron Storm and Knights and Sonic 3D, that Sonic Collection, Sonic Jam, Panzer Dragoon 1, 2, and Saga. Like you give me the greatest hits of Saturn, I'll give you $150 for that.
Dude, people would buy it just for Panzer Dragoon Saga.
I mean, it's
because buying the game by itself is so expensive.
Yeah, as long as it's less than $400, right. It's a bargain to get Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Just for that one game.
It would probably partly tank the price of that game by making it available in another way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be. But the other problem, of course, these games blow up to 720p a lot better than the Saturn games do.
Yeah.
The Saturn games are ugly, and I have, my Saturn does have an HDMI converter. I've played them on my, that 1080p, not 1080, it's not at 1080p, but it's that plasma, that Panasonic plasma you and I used to have.
Yeah.
Doesn't look great.
Yeah,
like it's just, there's parts of Panzer Dragoon Saga where you're just like, I don't know what I'm looking at. Like I don't know what that object is supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's a problem.
Yeah.
As for Dreamcast, I think Dreamcast would have a better angle on things. But the problem with Dreamcast is a ton of those games have moved forward to other platforms.
Yeah.
A lot of the other games that people think that are iconic have licensing issues. Like Crazy Taxi, you'd never get that music again. Yeah. And is it Crazy Taxi if it doesn't start with yeah?
It really isn't.
It's not. It's not what I want.
Right, yeah.
I will go through the trouble of hooking a Dreamcast up to hear that song as soon as I hit the accelerator.
Yeah.
Like that's.
And you think about the big Dreamcast games; a lot of them weren't first party. It was
they were all just
Soul Calibur, or there were sports games like the 2K sports games.
Stuff you'd never get the license to again, or that like went on something else.
Now.
Yeah, or that went on something else. Like a lot of the appeal was like it was the first of that generation. So like. Why did everyone love Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Dreamcast? Because it was the only home version of that ran well.
Yeah.
It ran as well as the arcade, and you could play. But now you can get Marvel vs. Capcom 2 a couple different ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of those games, it's a fighting game bonanza, but there's ways to play all those fighting games again, including the Capcom collection is coming out in a couple weeks, which is going to have a couple things that were only on the Dreamcast for a long time.
Like what?
A couple of those are like some third run things. But you've got that. You've got Cyberbots, which I think was only on Saturn.
Yeah.
It never came out here.
Mm-hmm.
Red Earth was only in the arcades.
Stuff like
Fighting
that. Not
Evolution.
big, not huge stuff.
Yeah, no, it's just stuff that like people like me that just like fighting games like to have in the library somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I have it already in a couple places. But it'd be nice to have it all in one place.
Oh, what's the Capcom Arena Brawler for Dreamcast everyone loves? I can't believe it's slipping
Power
my mind.
Stone.
Yeah.
The Power Stone games.
Is there any place to get that?
No. I mean, I think that actually there's a PSP.
Is there?
Version of Power. I think there was a PSP version of Power Stone 1 and 2, if I remember right.
Okay.
I think this is the only time they've ever brought either of those.
If they could get that on the collection, that might be.
You could definitely. I mean, you could definitely throw in like that and like Cannon Spike, which was a similar sort of thing with Capcom characters that no one remembers, and was for a while went for obscene amounts of money. There's Dynamite Cop 2.
But I think you're
Zero. Like there's a bunch of weird esoteric things, but like things that would sell like $100 micro console, probably not.
Yeah, it's limited. It's
hard
to make it work for Dreamcast, I think.
The news just came out.
C-Man, you could slide on there.
C-Man, yeah. The news just came out today that Mr. Yukawa, the previous head of Sega, he was in all those Dreamcast commercials. He was on the box of the Japanese one. I had that box with him, his face and all of that. Yeah, he turns out he died a year ago.
Oh.
And they only just released the news today.
Why?
I don't know. It was private until today. That's all I read in the article. But yeah, he died from like pneumonia complication. He was like 78.
So probably COVID.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, which was too bad. Those ads were so good.
They were. I mean, we remember them all this time later.
Yeah, I just remember the one where it's like, what do you normally do, old man? He's like, managing director. And what do you do? What are you doing? What are you doing this for? He's like, what am I doing this for? Indeed. It's just like, what? Yeah, it's very good.
Yep. So anyway, there you go.
He lives on as a shopkeeper near the end of Shenmue.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. So there you go. That's the Sega Genesis Mini 2, coming to Japan as of right now for around $85. We don't know if it's coming to the West. My guess is it will. A lot of people imported the first one because there was a delay for that one before it came to the West, right?
I think this will come here. I wonder if the games will be the same. That's because like the PC Engine TurboGrafx thing, where the American TurboGrafx release had a slightly different lineup. But they also included some untranslated Japanese stuff on that too. So
yeah, it's launching October 27th in Japan, and you can probably get it through all your typical import stores, whatever place you go typically to buy import stuff. You should be able to get it there. So just keep an eye on that, and keep your browser pointed to Sifted, and we'll let you know when that is scheduled to come to the West. Okay, it's time to move on to our final topic today, and we are staying in the Sega camp to talk about Sonic Frontiers, the brand new open-world Sonic game. Last week's show, the morning of the show, they put out the first trailer that showed any gameplay of Sonic Frontiers, and I mentioned offhand that it did not look great. And since then, it seems the world has agreed with me. In fact, it has got to the point where there are large groups of fans asking Sega to delay the game. I do not believe that any amount of delay is going to change, well, maybe not any, but any reasonable amount of delay is going to change what these fans are really pissed off about, which is essentially that it's an open world Sonic.
Yeah, the game is the game.
Right. Like, there's no going back at this point. It is what it is. But in the course
also, at this point, are you really shocked that there's a bad Sonic game coming out? Do you not have natural defenses for this by this point? Like, how many times do you need to be exposed to the Sonic virus before you build some antibodies up for this? Like,
Matt, this isn't the Sonic tonic?
No.
I think there's a renewed vigor for Sonic because of the films. I honestly think that the films have caused people to get excited about Sonic again.
Sure, but guess who didn't make the films?
Right.
Sega.
Yeah. Although I think they did send one of their ringers to fix Sonic, the character model, I believe.
I don't have any proof of this, but I believe that the Sonic model we had that they ended up using, I guarantee that thing already existed.
Oh, and they just were like, oh,
there is no possible way that was not an internal argument between the producers in the studio or somebody because they had that ready to go way too fast.
And the person that won was wrong.
Yeah, the person one was wrong, and the director was like, I knew that, so we're gonna fix it. I'm like, yeah, that's a man who has had that argument for a long time. Yeah. Also, I did find out that that in the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie that just came out, there's a scene with Ugly Sonic, where he's at a convention and you get autographs from Ugly Sonic. It's the original model from the trailer. Originally, that was supposed to be Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, really?
And apparently Lucasfilm was like, let's not do that. So instead they used the Ugly Sonic. That movie has so many weird... You want to talk about licensing issues? That movie has so many non-Disney things in it that I can't believe... There's Transformers in that and stuff. I'm like, I don't know how they cleared all that. But
money. That's how they
there's a whole thing with... they did not spend a lot of money on that.
Yeah.
That movie was in development hell for 18 years.
Wow.
And finally, they were they had it's been rebooted several times. And I think a couple of years ago, they're just finish it, just get it done. Which is also what happened to Emperor's New Groove.
Oh.
Emperor's New Groove also turned out to be a madcap, wacky comedy that everybody really liked. So who knew?
Wow. Since we did the episode last week, IGN has had an exclusive on Sonic Frontiers.
Actually, you know what they could do to really make this game work, to boost sales of this game? Make Ugly Sonic an unlockable skin.
You're right, actually.
If you can play as Ugly Sonic in this game, you have got the meme, people. That would work. Sega, I'm telling you, I'm not kidding. You put that in, people will buy this game. Maybe not me, but people will do that. That would work. Yeah. I promise you that would work.
Yep. So anyway, IGN has been blowing this game out for the last week, and I don't think it's helped things. In fact, I think that's what's generated most of the fan ire. It wasn't really the short gameplay trailer. It's all the stuff that IGN has been showing since. And then this morning, IGN dropped a huge video preview of the game where they actually included a lot of information. And we got a lot of information from that, and we're going to share it with you today on GameFace. First of all, I want to thank IGN for the footage that we are about to show you, because they're the only ones that have gameplay of Sonic Frontiers on the internet right now, save for this very short gameplay trailer that you're seeing at the beginning of the B-roll here. Eventually, we'll get to the IGN footage. And again, I want to thank them for running this in GameFace. The plot of the game, Matt, is that after flying into a wormhole with Tails and Amy, Sonic is separated from his friends and all alone on an island. An AI voice convinces him...
What we all wanted. Get him away from the friends.
An AI voice convinces him to collect Chaos Emeralds. So it appears that there's like a Navi type...
What if you just did what you always do?
Exactly.
Go on.
But it sounds like there's a Navi type character in this who's always like in your ear saying stuff. And then Sonic Team said in a quote that its big goal with this game was to create a mysterious tone relative to prior Sonic games.
I mean, I'm confused as to why you did any of this, but yeah, that may not be what you were going for.
Yeah. Now, one thing I would say, Matt, you and I have discussed a lot about this game. Like, how do you get the traditional Sonic gameplay into an open world? And the answer is they just have plopped that stuff down in the middle of the open world. Like, you'll hit a bumper, and all of a sudden it'll just send you into this sequence of events where you're kind of on the whole Sonic roller coaster ride style of gameplay. And they're just everywhere in the open world, which is also a little weird because you have this world that looks very natural. And then there are these, like, ramps and rails and...
Well, that's why it's mysterious.
They're just...
Why are they there?
Seriously.
They're like the Easter Island statues. What is it? What is it happening? What is going on?
Yeah. So anyway, there's these sections littered around the open world, but then there are also legitimate old Sonic levels in this game. They're actually kind of like little bonus levels that you get teleported out to, and they're actually the rewards that you get for completing those, because there are goals inside those, like finish it in X amount of time. If you complete those extra goals on those, that is where you get the currency that you need to actually get the Chaos Emeralds. So they're kind of important, the more canned, like, guided levels. The amount of work that's gone into this game, by the way, wow. Like, whether it turns out to be a piece of crap or not, I don't know, but there was a lot of work.
Yeah, you can't say they didn't try.
No.
Like, there's a lot of stuff happening. You can see like, just how far you can see, and it'll be like, oh, I can get over there, and I can do this
There's stuff
thing.
there, and then there's these other fully curated Sonic levels that they put in, like a normal Sonic game.
Pretty much what I thought it would be.
Yeah.
We'll see if it's any fun. You know, those are two different things.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're going to insist on doing the open world Sonic game, I think this is pretty much what you do.
I don't know how else you could do it.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it looks. You know what it kind of looks like? It kind of looks like 50 years later, Sonic found the remains of Death Stranding's world. Yeah, and it's just like, they're just building things everywhere. I guess I'm going to slide on the rails. You know. I keep expecting to see Norman Reedus walk by with a box.
Yeah. The open world is littered with puzzles and challenges. You complete them, and that unlocks new sections of the map. There's an Assassin's Creed-like mechanic in this, where if you complete certain puzzles, it, like, boing, and just, like, opens up a bunch of sections on the map and exposes, like, all the objects and items in that section of the map. There's a mechanic in the game where you draw circles around objects in the environment. I believe they call it a psi loop is the name of the mechanic. And you do that all the time in this game. Not only to solve puzzles, you also do it to enemies to, like, expose their weak points. You basically just run a circle around them very quickly. And, like, certain enemies, it will expose their weak points that you can attack. And that is done, again, not just for combat, but also for puzzle solving. There's lots of time trial missions out in the open world, where it's just like, hey, you need to get from point A to point B in X amount of seconds. Those look like a lot of fun, honestly, because they're not on, like, a given track, and you can kind of find your own way there. So if you start to learn the open world and you're like, hey, I know where there's a network of rails that can get me over to point B more quickly, you can utilize those. Your understanding, your knowledge of the open world can help you complete some objectives there. Combat, a big deal for the first time ever in a Sonic game. There are tons of enemies and mini-bosses out in the open world. The combat mechanics are kind of robust. You can dodge using a shoulder button. If you press both of the shoulder buttons together at the right time, you can actually parry attacks. There's parries in this game. Then the homing attack, which is Sonic's most popular attack that we've used throughout the years in Sonic games and all the Sonic Adventure games. Obviously, that's here and it's included, and it is also the primary attack. It is very sticky, and it allows you to kind of follow up with more attacks, which again is a mechanic that we're used to from Sonic games, but here it's kind of more important where defeating enemies isn't something that you can just do whether you want to or not, because that's kind of the way other Sonic games have been. It's, you don't necessarily have to defeat the enemies. They're kind of there. You can just run past them if you want to. In this, a lot of times you have to actually defeat the enemies. What else? Defeating enemies, you earn XP, and then, and get this, the XP you then spend to unlock new skills from a skill tree. So there is a skill tree in this game. Most of the unlocks in the skill tree give you more options in combat because...
Gotta go fast. Gotta go faster. Gotta go fastest.
I'm sure that's a big part of it, too, running faster. But really, I mean, Sonic has one attack. It is the homing attack. That's all he's ever had.
Oh, he's had a few.
Like what?
He's been able to throw energy at times. He could, in the Sonic Adventure, there was an item you could get that basically, like, you could grab an enemy and you could compress them down into a tiny ball and then throw them.
That's right. I forgot about that.
I mean, nothing anybody used, but he has had other attacks.
They were there. Okay, fair enough. There are Shadow of the Colossus-sized world bosses that are just roaming around the worlds. According to IGN, these are really rough and bugged, and is giving them a lot of concerns because obviously they're important. They're the big boss fights for the world. But if you beat them, you get portal gears, which unlock portals to the linear stages I was talking about earlier. And then if you complete those classic levels, as I said, you beat time targets, you get vault keys that ultimately unlock the Chaos Emeralds. And it's already getting way too complicated at that point. It's like, what? Like, okay, beat the bosses to get the portal gears, to open the portals, to get to the vault keys that unlock the Chaos Emeralds. What? Okay.
Sounds like an open world game to me.
Yeah, and then Sega, in working with IGN on this coverage, released a couple official statements. One of them says, this is designed to be an experience like never before, accelerate to new heights, and experience the thrill of high-velocity, open-zone freedom. Battle powerful enemies as you speed through the Starfall Islands. I guess that's the island that it takes place on. And landscapes brimming with dense forests, overflowing waterfalls, sizzling deserts, and more. Yep.
Man, that camera is not okay.
I mean, the combat in this just seems like complete trash to me.
Like, I feel like you could do something with it eventually, but like what I'm seeing is I can't even tell when it's cutting to the cuts to like his weird like cinematic moves look like they're cutting to a new scene.
Yeah.
Like I have no idea where I am after it cuts away like that.
And it still uses rings, so you collect rings, and when you get hit, you lose them, and you got to pick them back up. And if you don't, you get hit the next time you die. So that is a Sonic aesthetic that's still being maintained throughout all of this. As I said, there's Assassin's Creed-style towers that clear the map and point to new areas of interest. Rumors are stating, and this is not from IGN, this is also not from any official channels at Sega, but there are some leaks suggesting that there are 6 playable characters: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, Shadow, and a customizable character. And there is hideous drawing in this game. This is one thing about making Sonic in an open world, is that most game engines are not capable of drawing the stuff fast enough to keep up with Sonic. So there's just terrible drawing. Like, I know it's hard to see because this footage is a little bit compressed, but like the grass detail is constantly drawing in right in front of you. All of the objects, like the roller coaster stuff for Sonic, all that stuff draws in as you're like running up to it. Enemies appear, they draw in. It's just, I don't think you're going to find too many engines that can draw a detailed environment quick enough to keep up with the speed that Sonic moves.
And this is the stuff they're showing us.
Right, yeah. And I should add, too, that this footage is footage that Sega gave IGN. The video preview that IGN put up today, I believe, was stuff that IGN captured on its own. And so definitely watch that video preview. Reward IGN for its hard work. You can watch the video preview at Sifted. It's curated. Should be near the top of your Sift right now. And there's tons of extra footage. This did not use any footage from IGN's video preview. So they have an extra 8 or 9 minutes of footage that we did not show you here on GameFace. Make sure you go and check it out. Again, you want to support good journalism like what IGN did with Sonic. Now, I will say this. IGN's video preview was pretty positive. It even starts out with saying, look, we know most of you have watched trailers of this and you are disgusted by this game, but give it a chance. It's better than you think. I'm still not convinced.
It would have to be.
I mean, I'm still not convinced. I'll be honest. I still think the game looks like trash.
I mean, I think like the traversal stuff and the obstacles in the midair. Like I think that probably seems kind of fun. The combat looks like it's just going to annoy me.
Yeah. I'll say this. I am pleasantly surprised at how they have figured out how to make Sonic's traversal work in an open world. Mm-hmm. But you're right. The combat, and even IGN hinted at this in his preview, and I said this, I think last week when I was talking about Sonic in 3D, it's very hard to be accurate with him because he moves so fast.
Yeah, and even though he seems to be pretty homing about it, but I don't know.
There's one of the bosses that we were talking about earlier, the Shadow of the Colossus sized bosses. But they said almost all the boss fights are bugged. Like, the stuff doesn't work the way it's supposed to. You got to remember, Matt, this game is supposed to come out this year.
Yeah, I mean, I like what they're after in a lot of this here. Like, I don't know. They gave them that footage, huh?
Yeah.
It's like, that's exactly the thing. Is like, this is what they're choosing to show us.
Right. Yeah. Yep. How are you feeling about it, Matt?
I mean, it's Sonic. I don't really care. I
don't care?
I don't have a dog in it. I came to terms with the fact that Sonic games sucked long ago. Like I don't care. Like it's no different. At least they're trying something new instead of just doing the same thing over and over again.
It also appears that the drawing the circle around things is a really big mechanic in this game.
That's a big deal.
It is used all over the place, and I don't know that it's something that you want to use over and over.
I mean, I liked it in Knights.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
That's where that comes from.
The Knights mechanic.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm going to keep my mind open. And I will say this, like, IGN's preview was a little more convincing than I was convinced about this game, but not much. So, I don't know. They're trying.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a lot of work that has gone into this game.
What the hell was that?
Yeah.
It's just why did the camera even cut there?
I know.
Like, why would you move the camera? Like, why can't you just show what he did?
They want to make it cinematic.
But like, you can make that cinematic without moving the camera 180 degrees. It's very weird. I mean, I hope that's just because it's early or whatever. But like, yeah, like that feels like an unforced error to me. The camera
I feel like this whole game is an unforced error.
Like, there's something to be said for what they're after here. I just don't know if it's getting there.
I mean, I think, honestly, a lot of this game is going to hinge on how good the linear stuff is.
Yeah, like that concept for that boss, like, that's solid.
Yeah.
But, like, it just looks like it barely works properly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a little more encouraged.
I mean, some of the like delay Sonic stuff, like that boss battle would probably be a lot better with 6 more months of polish on it.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's going to come this year, Matt. I think by the time IGN is finished with this month of coverage, I think fans are going to be so pissed off.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, if in this year you've got your core fan base saying like, please don't give us this game yet.
Yeah, I mean that's terrible.
Yeah,
that's the worst thing you could have heard.
Yeah.
Is don't
do this yet. Don't. Like, yeah, I think you gotta respond to that.
Yeah,
you have to listen.
I think it's going to be delayed. Like so many other games that were supposed to be released this year, I really think this game's not going to be released in 2022. But we'll see. I mean,
and for once, it's just like, oh yeah, you probably shouldn't do that.
I mean, Sega could just cut its losses and be like, look, like we've been busting our asses on this game for like 5 years. And
yeah, I mean, it might, but
you would think that Sega would think there's more on the line now with the IP. After the films.
Yeah, now that they've got functional films.
I mean, my nieces and nephews, they love Sonic. They did not care they didn't even know who Sonic was 3 or 4 years ago. And now they all have, like, and I bought them, like, Sonic lamps and all, like, these Sonic, like, light projectors in their rooms. Because they asked for them. They're like, get me anything Sonic. And I did. So I don't know. I think they need to delay it, Matt, if it's not ready. They can't release a piece of trash as a Sonic game again.
Yeah.
So we'll see if they do. But I do have a feeling that it's not going to get better as IGN's exclusive coverage rolls on throughout the month of June. I just don't see it happening. So it is interesting, too, how IGN has positioned itself in a way as like a magazine. Mm-hmm. Because they're calling this like a cover story or whatever.
Right.
Because they couldn't sit back and watch Game Informer gobble this stuff up.
Because
it's not about just one trailer that they get exclusive. Mm-hmm. It's a whole month of coverage. So they're basically replicating the Game Informer model now, where they get this whole month of exclusive video and exclusive access and interviews and all that kind of stuff. So it's smart. Like, IGN should be doing that. So once again, thanks to IGN for letting us run the footage of Sonic in the show. And again, there is another 9 minutes, I believe, live on the site right now that you can go watch. That is footage that we did not include in this segment of the show. I think that's it. Do you have anything you want to add on Sonic Frontiers?
Nope.
Let's take a look at the chat and see what they're saying about it.
I think it probably should be. But then again, who knows if that's going to help?
Yeah.
I mean, I do think the combat and the boss stuff looks really rough. That could be helped by more polish for sure. You're not going to be able to change the whole format of the game, but you could at least make the stuff you have to do a little less. Like, I can see just watching that game, that playing that game would not feel good. It would feel like you're waiting for something to. You're waiting for him to trip or get caught on the scenery, or you're waiting for, like, you know, I would have no faith in the game's ability to run itself. You know what I mean? You know that feeling when you're playing a game that's a little janky, and you're like, oh, I wish I could be sure that I'm gonna go up that wall and jump over there and do the thing I want to do.
And it's gonna work the way it's supposed to.
And not gonna, like, get caught up on some random piece of geometry.
That will drive me nuts.
Yeah.
And you're right. It very well could have tons of stuff like that in it. Yes.
Like, I can see a lot of times when you're trying to do, like, a launch through something, and, like, oh, you hit some invisible thing up there, and now he just stopped dead and falls straight down. Yep. You know, like, it's just.
I mean, that's what IGN was hinting at with the boss fights. Is that they just don't work the way they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a problem. Evil Ani 5, I swear that it's a sequel to Sonic 06.
I mean, that is certainly the thing that I think of when I see it.
Yeah.
I mean, it already looks better than that game, but, like, yeah, that is the last time they tried something like this, pretty much.
Cinetike says, feels like another, quote, we must make it open world, unquote, victim. Yeah, it does feel like they're kind of shoehorning the open world into Sonic a little bit.
I think this is more of a, like, oh, this is a new direction or something else we can do with it. I think we're ready to try this now. And then, like, maybe they weren't.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, your other option is just to make another Sonic game.
That's true. Which they are kind of making anyway. They're just hiding those parts of the game behind a door.
Which is fine.
Yeah, it is. Veritas says, let Sonic video games die.
None of these ideas are bad. They are just not being executed very well.
Mm-hmm. Andy T. Monahan attacks chili dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Evil Oni also says, are we sure they didn't just put Sonic in the PSO2 engine, the Phantasy Star Online 2 engine? It looks like it might be built in the PSO2 engine, actually.
It has a Dreamcast like texture to it. Yeah.
Erebus Jones says, this game just looks like open world time sync 15 Sonic edition. I just don't have enough life left to play this. So very meh. I hear you. I am at the point in my life where I am starting to really look at my time and what I spend it on anymore. And games like this, typically, I'm starting to, like, excise from my life. Vincent asks, what do you think of the Pokemon Scarlet Violet trailer that also launched last week? That's also taking an established series open world. I actually didn't watch it. Did you?
No, I didn't see that.
I missed it somehow. Yeah. Sneaky asks, should Sonic be given to a new team other than Sonic Team?
He's been given to a lot of teams.
It doesn't really matter.
None of it really changes anything.
Yep. All right. So there's our chat check-in for Sonic Frontiers. Sounds like you guys are pretty much feeling the same way Matt and I are about the game. A little more encouraged, but not a lot. So we'll see. Maybe we'll see something as the month goes on that IGN has in its coverage that kind of moves the needle a little bit. But as of right now, what I've seen so far,
probably not.
Not so much, yeah. And with that, it's time for Name That Game. That's right, we're back for the second week in a row. I should also add that the person, what was it, like OCD Master 1 or whatever, won last week?
Maybe, I can't remember.
No, you never reached out to us for your game. You never DM'd me anywhere. So don't forget, we still have the game waiting. We're holding for you, the person who won last week. But we have a new winner coming up this week. And again, I have toiled to try to make this last past the first image. We'll see how it goes. I'm not 100% confident because you guys are just too damn good. That's really what it comes down to. You guys are just too good at this. For those of you who don't know, there are some first-timers on the stream today. I know that for a fact. For those of you who don't know, Name That Game is just like the title insinuates. You are trying to name that game. I will show you a series of 5 screenshots that become progressively more obvious at what the game is, and you try to guess it. You are playing against Matt. You have to guess the name of the game before Matt can. You guys win all
and
ties.
And they will.
And you probably will, because you have the internet at your disposal. You can use Google and things like that to help you.
Sure, I mean, the internet doesn't help that much with these.
They're guessing it in the first 2 seconds.
Well, they either see it or they don't.
Yeah. But you do win ties. Like, our objective is that we want you guys to win. So if Matt says the name of the game and I look over and a couple seconds later you guys put the name in there, you guys get the win.
Yeah, I mean, if you're familiar with like there's all the Wordle ripoffs. There's one called Hurdle, which is songs, and so it starts with 1 second and builds up from there.
It's name that tune from the 80s or 70s.
And last couple I've known from the first second of a song.
Oh, really?
It's just today's was yep, I know what that is. And yesterday's was it's just one drum beat. But it's only one song could be that. If you just know it, you know it or you don't.
Yeah.
And if you do, you're just that's it. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And if you don't know, it's no chance. That's it. But you're always going to have someone, I think, in this chat that's going to know, be the person who knows it instantly based on it because of the breadth of knowledge present here.
Okay. Well, let's do it. It's time for... Okay. Are you guys ready for the first screenshot, the first clue? Get your fingers ready. Get ready to type. Because I'm terrible at this, and you guys always guess it on the first image. And here we go. The first image for episode 303's Name That Game. And I'll give you about 10 or 15 seconds with each one.
Can't even see it.
That's the idea.
Alan Wake.
Nope. Resident Evil Village. Nope. Skyrim. Nope. God of War. Nope.
Skyrim's a good guess.
Resident Evil 4. Nope. Blue Dragon. Nope. Alan Wake. Nope. Last of Us. Nope. A lot of Alan Wakes.
Until Dawn's a good guess.
He just got it.
That's it.
How? How? How?
I think that was a guess.
That had to just be a wild guess. I think people just started guessing any scary game.
They're guessing horror movies that were in the woods.
Yeah.
Or horror games that were in the woods.
I mean, there's nothing in that screenshot that denotes that it's Until Dawn. It's over, guys. They got it. Jeez. This is insane.
Spooky cabin, they said.
I
can't tell that's a cabin.
I mean,
it could be anything.
It's just a rooftop in the woods. That's all it is.
You're lucky it wasn't called that.
A rooftop in the woods. This is crazy. I just don't think this is going to work. You guys you're just going to keep guessing until you finally guess it.
Maybe you should just do one screenshot.
Yeah.
Don't bother doing the other 4.
Maybe. Yeah. GX Gear, you won. So send us a DM. You can send it here on Twitch. And please, I don't know if GX Gear won already?
I can't remember anymore.
I can't either. There's been too many. But look, if you've already won, don't play. Let other people win. And then maybe you're probably good at it, which means maybe we'll make it to the second image one week. But I don't know if this is going to work, because what happens is you put something up, it gives them the general idea, and they just start guessing. And eventually they're going to guess the right game.
What maybe you should do is you should take it down after a certain amount of time.
That might be a good idea.
5 seconds and
Actually,
down.
That's a good idea. That might help. But still, you're horror game. So let me just start guessing all the horror games. Mm-hmm. And that's basically what they were doing.
It could have not been. That could have been I don't know, Ratchet and Clank.
I mean,
with the
it could have been
down.
Evil Dead that we just covered on GameFace a week and a half ago. It could have been a billion games, but at the end, you're just going to keep guessing them until you get it right. So anyway, I'll go through the other images here, just for giggles. Here's the second one.
That one I would have known.
You would have known that was Until Dawn?
Yeah.
How come?
This is the quality of the graphics.
Interesting.
Plus the shutters there. Yeah, I would have guessed Until Dawn on that.
Wow.
One. That one I don't even know what I'm looking at.
It's 2 eyeballs, 2 eyes.
Is it?
Unlike a demon, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Looked like a tree to me.
That's the third one. Here's the fourth one. This one I was pretty much guaranteed would have given it away. Because that's the box art for the game. And if that didn't work, this one definitely would have.
Yeah, everybody's outfits.
Yep. Well, just the fact that it's 5 teenage looking.
I definitely remember her pink jacket.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So anyway, all right. Well, I'll keep trying, guys. GX Gear, congratulations. Send me a Send me a DM somewhere, and we'll get you your free game. And we'll try it again next week, and hopefully I can do better. Someday, I'll get to at least a second image. I hope, anyway. Anyway, actually, here's your round of applause for winning GX Gear. And again, you can send me a DM here on Twitch. You can send me a DM on Sifted, on Twitter. I am at Dinfire. Anywhere you can get at me, just let me know, and we'll get you your download code for your free game. And you know what? In honor of this, I will make sure that it's a horror game, so that the theming all works out. Cinetike, I know this is disappointing for Shane, but this is cool and epic for the chat. Okay. Fair enough. If you guys are enjoying it, that's really all that matters in the end. At least for me. That's really the whole purpose of the whole show. You guys enjoying yourselves. So if you enjoy playing in that game, even though you guys guess it on the first image every freaking time, then that's good enough for me. Okay, we're going to get to some Q&A. And to do that, go at Sifted Games in the chat. And while you're doing that, here's a word from our sponsor. A once-in-a-lifetime property is now available in Northwest Montana, featuring 92 acres of gorgeous wilderness, approximately 1 mile along the Blue Ribbon, trout-rated Kootenai River, and an eye-popping view of the Cabernet Mountain Wilderness area. This is truly an outdoorsman's paradise. You can use the restored and remodeled barn with living quarters as a year-round home, vacation cabin, fishing retreat, horse ranch, or cattle ranch. Contact Doug DeShazer today for additional pictures, information, and an opportunity to view this very special piece of Montana. And with interest rates starting to rise, now is the time to pull the trigger on a home or property. Even if you're not able to relocate to Montana, worry not, Sifters. Doug DeShazer has facilitated home and land sales in California, Texas, Oregon, Washington, and many other states. He can find you the perfect real estate agent for the job, no matter where you live in the U.S. Feel free to contact Doug with any questions regarding real estate at deshazermt@gmail.com or give him a call at 406-291-1643. That's 406-291-1643. Thanks again to DeShazer Ryan Realty for sponsoring GameFace. All right, let's get to some questions here. We can't
GX Gears. It's fun to see Shane try.
Okay. I will say this. There was only one person that got it right. There was like a ton of guesses, and only one person got it right. That's an upgrade over the last couple weeks.
There's also the option of you could just take one screenshot that is pretty indicative of the game and pixelate it tremendously 5 different levels.
I mean, I am zooming in these screenshots.
Yeah, but what I mean is like it's just a screenshot. It could be anything. It could be the cover. It could be something very iconic. But you pixelate it like 5 different levels to the point that like the first one is just blurred color. You know, just huge. And sometimes I
may still get it.
Sometimes I've seen there's the show on I think it's College Humor, actually. And like they have one of their questions is like, here's a blurred nerd related thing, and we're gonna unblur it slowly, and whoever buzzes it. And I've gotten some instantly, like just something about like I know that movie poster with the color here, and I know that that's Star Wars. Or I know, sometimes you do know it.
Yeah,
but it can be shocking how people recognize some of these things.
It's crazy. Yeah, you guys are great. You're awesome at it. There's no doubt about it. Thanks for playing, and GS Gear, get at me. So I can get you your free game. Let's get to some questions here. ETH Demon, what do you think of Jeff Gerstmann going independent?
You almost said Jeff Goldblum, didn't you?
No. Pretty impressive start, over 4.5k patrons, number of people on the first day. I didn't even know what was happening. Like, I didn't know that that's what was going on. Like, I didn't see I know he was doing like a stream today or something, but I didn't know like what the result of that was. So he just started his own Patreon, just him.
Yeah, he started a new podcast.
That's just him?
I don't know.
Huh. Okay.
I mean, he's doing it. I mean, I imagine he'll bring other people on, but it's his thing, yeah.
I mean, 4.5k patrons, if they're all paying $4 a month, he's doing very well.
Doing fine.
Wow. He'll make way more money than he was making at Giant Bomb. But he also, you got to remember, he's already been paid out for Giant Bomb being purchased. So, I'm sure he was making probably close to $200k a year as part of his contract because he was the founder of Giant Bomb and it was purchased. I mean, he's rich. Like, really rich. Yeah, he is.
Really rich?
I mean, not you're rich. Not your family's rich. But he's probably worth like $5 or $10 million.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Giant Bomb, I guarantee, was bought for at least $2 or $3 million.
Well, yeah, but he didn't keep a lot of that. He's if you're talking like including whatever house he might have, like I'm going to say around 3 to 5.
Yeah, that's really rich.
But no, it's not. Like
$3 to $5 million. $3
to $5 million.
Okay, chat. Is $3 to $5 million really rich?
It's a lot. No, not when it's all tied up in real estate and you can't get to that money.
You're speaking for yourself, though.
No, I'm speaking for him too. Like, given where he lives and like that is.
He lives in Petaluma.
He's doing fine, but he's not like gonna buy a yacht or anything.
No.
Like, he's not Pachter. Like,
he's rich
here.
compared to me and the people in the chat. Compared to you, no, it's a drop in the bucket. But
what I'm saying is, like, people like there's a net worth site I saw that estimated Jeff Gerstmann's net worth at $76 million.
Oh, that's insane.
Which is, and like all these other people, like if you Google Jeff Gerstmann net worth, the most common figure you will find is $76 million because of that one website, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, like, that's absurd.
He's probably the best paid game journalist of all time in the end when you take into account everything. Yeah. But like, he didn't make $70 million. He's not like Hollywood wealthy.
Well, let's put it this way: he's a multi-millionaire already.
He's doing fine.
Yeah.
Yes. And I don't think this is. I mean, this is pretty much a year after all the others left, and like it sounds to me like after the acquisition, he signed a year contract, and now it's over.
That's probably true.
Like, I don't think anything dramatic happened here.
Yeah.
Like,
did he say anything about what happened?
I don't think so.
He probably can't. Here's the other thing. He probably just got a gigantic severance on top of it all. I mean, he probably can't talk about what happened because he signed an NDA for the severance.
I mean, if he quit, you usually don't get that. But he might have negotiated something a year ago. Like,
yeah.
I'm sure it was part of the thing with the other guys. I'm probably sure that some of them could have re-signed too, but they wanted to do their own thing for a while now.
Yeah.
And he, stay on for a year, help with the transition, guide the stuff, and then walk away with probably a fine year's salary and step down. And he probably knew that like he could move right into Patreon and have a good pledge base to begin with, and here we are.
Yeah.
Like, and I guarantee you, one way or the other, it's going to be better for his stress levels and mental health to not have to sit in meetings with CBS people anymore.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I guarantee you he's been dealing with corporate bullshit and bureaucracy for a year, and I'm sure he's well over it.
I think he's been doing it for more than a year.
Oh, more than a year, but like,
yeah.
I think the biggest relief of no longer working for a giant corporation is no longer working for a giant corporation.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
If you can do it on your own, why not?
Yeah. Yeah. It is. I mean, I'm glad to hear that he's still working in games. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, he's definitely not going away.
Yeah, because our people, let's be honest, Matt, are dropping like flies. There just aren't many of us left. So it's good to see that he's going to stick at it.
I mean, I figured he was either going to start his own thing again, or he was going to he'd taken like a job and.
I thought he might just retire. I'll be honest. Like, he has more money than he'll ever spend. So
I really don't think that's true.
He lives in Petaluma. He doesn't live in the Bay Area.
Petaluma is not cheap either.
Back when he bought his house like 20 years ago, it was dirt cheap.
Mm-hmm.
Him and
not
Ryan
anymore.
and his whole crew of Giant Bomb were from that area.
Yeah.
And those houses back then were literally like $300,000.
Oh, they were nothing, but now they're way more.
So he's even more rich because his $300,000 house is now worth $2 million.
I mean, yeah, but that doesn't help him unless he's borrowing money against it, which I guess he might be. But like what I'm saying is, unless he has gotten real lucky with investment stuff, he probably does not have the money to live on forever unless he's being very frugal about it. He still needs to have some kind of income.
I think he'd have to spend like a maniac to spend all his money.
You never know. Owning house, just the property tax.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. Although in Petaluma, it may not be too brutal.
I mean, Petaluma's California. California's property tax is what it is.
In general. Yeah.
Especially if he's done any work on the house, that gets reevaluated.
Yep.
So
it's all the value of the house, yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yep. Let's see. Erebus Jones, more GoldenEye achievements leaked this week. Chances of a shadow drop on Sunday. I think that's very likely. Yeah. We've been hearing rumors about that for a long time. GoldenEye on Xbox, and now like people at Rare have been playing it, and they're popping achievements. I think it's pretty much
that would be a pretty solid thing to drop during that conference.
Yep, absolutely. And it would generate a little bit of hype. Did you watch The Boys season 3, episode 1? I've never watched The Boys at all. You ever watched it?
I've only watched the first season.
Okay.
Which I thought was fine, but I like the comic better, and I really don't like that the boys don't have powers in the show. I do think that Homelander is a way more interesting character in the show. But overall, I just didn't feel like I was missing anything by skipping it. So
okay. Norix Nessie 94. I meant to ask last week, but what game did you enjoy more, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order or Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga? Fallen Order for me.
Fallen Order.
Yeah, sure. By significant amounts.
Before Lego Star Wars came out, I might have been surprised by that answer, but I think Skywalker Saga missed the mark.
It ended up not being as great as I thought it was going to be, in particular for how much time they spent working on the game. Mm-hmm. Norix, thank you for Twitch Prime, by the way, brother. Thank you, appreciate that. Why is Capcom doing a not E3 showcase this year after last year's disaster? Are you going to cover it? I didn't even know they were doing it, so no.
Yeah.
They just shot their load in the state of play.
Yeah, they had some good stuff in them. I don't know. Maybe they got to show Dragon's Dogma 2 finally.
Maybe.
Deep down, finally coming back.
That's one from the archives. Zet Saber Juno, who, by the way, said that if we only showed the screenshot for 5 seconds, they would just screenshot it, which is probably accurate. Do you believe a physical E3 will happen next year? Should we assume the ESA is just pledging right now? Yes, I think it will. I mean, it's all going to hinge on COVID again.
I mean, they probably intend to.
Yeah,
will that happen?
So hard to
Who
predict.
knows?
Like, the numbers are going up again. Like, I just saw yesterday, it's all starting to go up again. It really sucks.
California's got the lowest per capita numbers in the country, though.
I know.
Doing all right.
But they're still going up. JM Rain, thank you for this.
We're surrounded by dark colors, and we're like nothing.
Yeah.
And it's still pretty bad here.
Yeah.
It's worse now, hospitalization-wise, in LA than what it was when we locked down.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, to be fair, not as many people are dying, but...
Yeah. Thank you, JM Rain, for the subs you're giving out to our audience. That's awesome. Thoughts on the Disney kart racer? I didn't even watch the footage for it. Did you?
No. You don't need my thoughts on that. Just, no one's going to fall for that.
Kevin Raffa, which former Sifted show would you bring back if you had the time and money for it? There's so many. Today's high score, the call-in show, I still think that someday that's going to be done and it's going to be gigantic. I think someone with a huge audience could do it right now and it would be gigantic. We just didn't have a big enough pool of fans to participate in it. But I think a call-in, like radio-style call-in show for games is going to be huge someday. So I would love to do that. Any of the podcasts that I've done recently that we had to stop doing, 3 Night Weekend, I thought was great. I think that would be worth bringing back. I think Good Morning Gaming, I would love to bring back. There's so many, but those are probably the 3. If money were no object, I would do a bonus round style show. But
yeah, if you were like flying people in from across the world and stuff.
Yeah, but money is an object, unfortunately. The Legacy, thank you for Twitch Prime. And we'll answer one more. Wampler13, do you think there is any chance Xbox brings back 1 versus 100? Do you remember that, Matt?
I remember that. I like that.
It was fun.
Yeah,
it was like, if you don't know, it was a quiz show where it was literally you versus 99 other people. Mm-hmm. Or was it actually 100 people?
It was 99.
It was 99, yeah. Because it's called 1v100.
Actually, I think it was 100 people in the audience and then one person get picked to be the one.
Yeah.
And then if someone got eliminated, someone else got pulled out to be the one.
I think you're right, actually. Yeah. That was a lot of fun. I don't know why it went away.
It was very expensive to do.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. Same reason that Quiz Up thing went away. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was live every couple of... Yeah, like that stuff just costs a lot of money. And the sponsors would eventually abandon it because like they were not seeing a result. But it was a lot of fun. I really liked 1 versus 100. It was probably one of the best uses of Xbox avatars ever.
Yeah, it's great. I had a lot of fun with it. I played it for a long time too.
You could win real money.
Yeah, that's right. That's why it was so expensive.
That's why it was so popular too. That's also why it was so expensive. Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
there's a live production. That's not nothing.
No.
That's a hard thing to do at the best of times.
Believe me,
now you involve digital representation software. Like, yeah, that was impressive. They got it done as long as they did.
I just spent 2 days of pre-production on this show, literally, like almost all day Sunday and almost all day yesterday to prepare for this show. 2 days of pre-production for 1 episode of GameFace. So I know all about the demands of a live show, but we made it to the end. Here we are. If you're listening to this show on any of the podcast services out there, it would really be great if you could go to patreon.com/sifted and pledge. We really need the help. You can even pledge just $1 if you just want to help us out. But if you pledge $4 or more per month, you get all our content early. That's at least 4 days early. In the case of Pactor Factor, it is 7 days early. It would really make a big difference for us. If you can't afford to pledge, and I totally get it because I'm also broke now, so I can understand why you maybe can't pledge. And if you can't afford to, you can help us out with Twitch Prime, as a lot of people do during our live streams, like The Legacy just did. And the instructions for that are down in the description if you're watching the show on YouTube. But essentially, you just link your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then you just subscribe to our channel every month, and we get a free $2.50 per month for every person that does that. And our numbers for that have been way down. People have stopped doing it. So if you are one of the people who have stopped doing it, please go and do it. That would be awesome. But other than that, yeah. Another show in the books. We'll be back here on Sunday for the Xbox and Bethesda showcase. Our show kicks off at 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30 on the East Coast. We'll do a big pre-show where we'll kind of make predictions of what we think is going to happen in the showcase. We'll do live commentary during the showcase, and then we'll do about 30 to 45 minutes of post-show analysis after the showcase. So hope to see you guys on Sunday. I know if you're like us and you're on the West Coast, that is going to come really early on a Sunday morning. I still don't know why Microsoft decides to do it this way when there's no other press conferences on Sundays, but here we are. So we'll see you guys on Sunday. Again, 9:30 a.m. Pacific, 12:30, just a little bit afternoon on the East Coast for the big Xbox and Bethesda showcase. So Matt, thanks as always for hosting us here at your home and being a great co-host. We'll see you on Sunday. GameFace is up and out.